He's a guy that talked about his faith as a child of God, but also he's a married gay man. So all the things that people sometimes stereotype, well, you know how those gay people are. No, tell me how those gay people are. They hate, commitment in relationships. Really? Is that what you think? They do not believe in small business. He's a small business owner. They do not believe in healing and the power of forgiveness. I could tell within an hour and a half that ain't true about him. My point is this. On one side of that, both sides of the fence, you have Derek, gay business owner, southwestern Pennsylvania, by way of a conservative county, Butler County. The other side, you have somebody that's a Republican in Jen McIntyre, that Washington County. Another ruby red county, but she is a registered Republican. She is somebody that's been involved in the party. She is somebody that believes in the Republican ethos and it exemplifies that in how she lives her life. Both of them come from different perspectives when you look at the attributes of who they are. But when you collectively combine their focus and their vision, they are quintessentially what this region and our Commonwealth and our nation are supposed to be all about. Out of many, one. Having differences yet being the same where it matters. Being able to not allow differences to be divisive. Allow differences to be diversity. And allow diversity to be our strength. I love having longer conversations about that. And going on both sides of the fence allowed me to do that. Now, is it out there right now? It's not done yet. Come on, folks. It's not even hot off the press yet. It's just hot. You know, you love a hot meal, but you don't want it to be so hot you can't bite into the meal. It's kind of the same thing with this. Let it come out of the oven, cool down for a little bit, then you can consume it, I promise you. As soon as I find out when the link and the podcast for both sides of the fence, with the edition that I'm on, the episode, I should say, where I'm on, when it drops, I will let you know. But I wanted to make sure I said thank you to Derek and to Jen for having me on today. It was a very fantastic, very delightful, very enjoyable time being on with the two of them. And again, Derek's husband was doing the behind the scenes and, running the different cameras, making sure lighting's okay, making sure the mics are at a certain level. So thank you to him as well. And I think it was a fruitful and productive conversation. And we need to have more of those. And again, we have them here at News Radio KDKA. We have them on the air. But it's different having it on a podcast. Because for me, and again, this goes back to how I think it's different. It provides me the opportunity to show how I really feel about this country. I think I do it anyway during the show, but you have to explain why you still have confidence in this country. You have to explain why different types of people can get ahead. You have to explain why you're willing to pivot away from the things that we've been doing wrong on both sides of the fence, and then how to correct it. One of the phrases, and I'll say this and I'm going to go to break. One of the phrases that Derek brought up a lot, and you'll hear it when you listen to the podcast, talks about love and empathy a lot. You can have love and empathy in public policy and in the political realm and still get stuff done. People don't think that anymore. People think you have to only have love and empathy and then you're just going to be squishy on public policy, or you can't have love and empathy, so you're going to be a hammer with public policy. That is not the way to do it either way. In our country, we're supposed to respect the constitutional civil rights of all Americans, the God-given rights that the protections of the Constitution provides. Being able to talk about that at length is significant to me, which is why I loved going on the podcast. And as we continue to promote a Venn diagram of one, an American story, I'm going to have other opportunities. I did this on Town Hall a couple of weeks as well. Go to LennyMcAllister.com. You can find the Town Hall hour-long interview there. I'll be going on XM Radio, which not quite a podcast, but is long form as well. I'll have a chance to do it there. My point is this. Being able to show how we are connected together is valuable. And we have to take the time during America 250 when everybody's waving these flags to remind people the purpose and the principles behind the flag, or else we're just a bunch of hypocrites. And if nothing else, I don't want to live the rest of my life as a hypocrite. And the calling that I'm making with a Venn diagram of one, with appearing on podcasts such as Both Sides of the Fence, with doing what I do here on the radio, is to ask you to walk with me so that we all cannot be hypocrites and we can start living up to our shared principles and values once again. 866-391-1020. I want to get to the other cool thing that came out of this week that I'm looking forward to in the coming days this week. Then I'll open up the phone lines here on News Radio, KDKA.
News, weather, traffic, and business every day. Hear it on News Radio KDKA.
Don't know who to trust? Go with the sure thing. PJ Fitzpatrick has been your trusted roofer for 45 years. They've earned thousands of 5-star reviews and back all new roofs with a lifetime guarantee on materials and labor. The PJ Fitzpatrick team of experienced professionals install most roofs in just one day. Set up a free consultation this month to save thousands. Plus, they have a variety of financing packages that work with any budget. Don't wait. Visit trustpj.com today.
Pittsburgh, we've got a problem. Home care is in crisis and there aren't enough caregivers to meet the demand. So if you've got a loved one with Medicaid and needs care, don't wait. Freedom Care was built for this moment. We help you get care at home from someone you already trust. A family member or friend who can get paid to help with everyday needs like meals, medication, bathing, and mobility. If you have Medicaid, it's 100% free to you. No waiting lists. Just real care from your people right now. Freedom Care handles it all. Training, payroll, and support. So you can stay safe and comfortable at home and your caregiver gets paid after every shift guaranteed. With 97% satisfaction and over 150 million hours of care delivered, Pittsburgh families are already making the switch to care at home. Take care of your own and get paid with Freedom Care. Call 412-844-5990. That's 412-844-5990. Call now, 412-844-5990. 412-844-5990.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
When it comes to family law, a lot has changed in recent years, so assumptions can be costly. If you see or sense a change coming in your family life that could have legal implications, it's important to know where you stand. Getting good legal advice early is never a bad idea. I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. If you or anyone you know is facing a family law issue, start with a consultation. Visit CordellCordell.com.
Pittsburgh and Cranberry Township. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois only.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
With the new MyLowe's Pro Rewards American Express card, earn 3 points per dollar spent on Lowe's qualifying purchases for the first 6 months after card account opening. Plus, save 5% every day on eligible purchases at Lowe's and earn points on eligible purchases everywhere else Amex is accepted. Card members get more at Lowe's. Subject to credit approval. 5% can't be combined with any other offer. Exclusions and restrictions apply. Points subject to loyalty terms at Lowe's.com/terms and credit reward terms at Synchrony.com/MLPRA-terms. Visit Lowe's.com/business credit.
The KDKA radio text line is driven by Kenny Ross Auto Group. Find your best deal and Pittsburgh's best warranty at KennyRoss.com.
SchultzFord.com. 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 SchultzFord.com.
Listen to KDKA Radio on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps.
Now, the other thing I did want to bring up before I open up these phone lines after the news break at the bottom of the hour is I'm looking forward to several things this week. One, I'm looking forward to being on the Big K Morning Show tomorrow with Larry Richard, 8 to 9 a.m. He starts at 5:30. I did that on Memorial Day. It was enjoyable. It was fun. It was tiring, in part because I was on until noon, but I digress. I look forward to doing that tomorrow. I look forward to being here with you until 6. Look forward to talking to you at 866-391-1020. I look forward to coaching 2 baseball games this week. That'll be fun. But I also look forward to emceeing the annual Pittsburgh branch of the NAACP dinner that's going to happen on Friday. Now, it's going to be sold out. They sold out all the tables and seats, so should be a jam-packed evening. I will be emceeing the event, which I'm looking forward to. I mean, a lot of people don't know this about me, but my godfather was the president of a local branch of the NAACP, not the Pittsburgh branch, but a local branch. My dad, at one point in time, was involved in the NAACP. I think he ran for one of their offices, but I'm not certain. I also know that I believe my dad might be a lifetime member, or definitely was a member at one point in time. We used to get the crisis at the house. I believe he's a lifetime member. My wife and I are lifetime members of the NAACP. And, you know, what people don't realize about organizations such as the NAACP is it's a historic organization that advanced the rights of all Americans forward. It does not mean you agree with everything that they say or do. And look, you don't with your church, you don't with your school, you don't with your neighbors, you don't with your spouse, you don't with your family members. But it's amazing how people will look at an organization like that and say, oh, or the political parties. Now, I understand the NAACP and political parties are not the same. But this aspect of them is. They act as if you do not have 100% purity, you cannot belong. You cannot be a part of it. You cannot agree with other aspects of what they do. I'm a member of the NAACP. I believe in voting rights for all Americans. I want Americans that are eligible to vote to have the opportunity to vote. Too many people died for that right from the 1700s all the way through to our most recent conflicts. They died for that belief. They died for that right. That transcends 5 letters. That transcends partisanship. That transcends any civic group you may belong in. Transcends any community that you belong to. And so sometimes it's disappointing to me, particularly me, where people will say, you're a Republican. I'm a Republican and I disagree with the tariffs. I've been on the record about that for a while. I'm an African American that doesn't agree with everything that NAACP does or advocates for. But there are obviously certain things that I do believe in with the Republican Party, and there's certain things I believe in with the NAACP. That's the essence of being American, by the way, folks. We have forgotten about that. It's why I wrote the book, but it's also why I do what I do here in the media. It's why, again, I was on both sides of the fence. We had a conversation about that at length, and it was great. What I am learning, and then I'm going to break, what I am learning is that there are more of you out there that are sick of the bickering. You're tired and exhausted of everybody fighting all the time. It's not even everybody. It's like 15% of our country, dominating 90% of the oxygen in the room. You're tired of it. The more I do this for the book, the more I tell you, there are a lot of people just like you. And maybe it's time for you all to get a little bit more involved, and we can kind of bend this country back in the right direction together. News at the bottom of the hour. Your phone calls, 866-391-1020, after the news. You're on News Radio KDKA.
Hey folks, my friends at NASCO Roofing take pride in exceeding customer expectations. Joe from Pittsburgh loved the excellent work NASCO did on replacing his roof and gutters. It was a big job that NASCO completed in just 2 days with excellent attention to every detail. Joe was also impressed with NASCO's cleanup that left his home spotless. NASCO has thousands of customers that are satisfied like Joe. Get NASCO on your roof. Call NASCO 412-373-2000. 412-373-2000. Special financing available. NASCO Roofing. NASCO. SEO.
I'm Piera Palazzolo, VP of Digital Marketing for the American Management Association, a company focused on the management training skills needed to enhance the careers of business professionals. We did our research when it came to the best companies for website development and chose AmericanEagle.com. And we couldn't be happier. AmericanEagle.com worked closely with us to understand the front and back end requirements needed to launch an e-commerce website that could handle the complexities of running thousands of seminars nationwide. Our robust new website and improved SEO saw immediate increases in site traffic and web revenue. If you're in need of managerial effectiveness and success, visit our website at amanet.org. If you're in need of a website that provides an unparalleled consumer experience, I highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Transform your business today. Dial 877-WebNow1 for a free digital consultation with AmericanEagle.com.
Mommy, how come I can't sit in the front seat?
Because I love you and you're just not ready yet.
Putting your kids in the right seat for their age and size is an act of love. Check that your kids are in the right seat at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Love protects. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
From the Aetna Medicare Studios.
Proud to be the voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
ABC News, I'm Mike Dubusky. Malnutrition, inadequate medical care, and unsanitary living spaces. That's how detainees in Newark, New Jersey described the living conditions at the migrant detention facility known as Delaney Hall. Those concerns have sparked protests outside the building, with multiple people arrested by police last night after clashing with ICE agents. New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill says protests shouldn't take away from the main issue, addressing the conditions at Delaney Hall.
Congress members have been doing an incredible amount of work and an incredible job getting inside routinely, sometimes spending hours tracking individuals down for families. But that shouldn't be the case. I mean, we should know exactly who's in which facility, why they are being held, and their due process rights should be respected.
Still no movement when it comes to negotiations with Iran to end the fighting. Reopening the Strait of Hormuz and drawing down Iran's nuclear program remain the sticking points. This is ABC News.
Paid advertisement for non-attorney spokesperson. Victory Legal Network is not a law firm. Cases may be referred to participating law firms. Compensation is not guaranteed.
Attention parents. Was your baby born premature and then given Similac or Enfamil brand formula in the hospital? Studies now show that premature infants given cow's milk-based baby formula face a much higher risk of developing necrotizing enterocolitis, or NEC. If you or your loved one had a premature baby and was given one of these baby formulas, you may qualify for significant compensation. Visit govictory44.com now to see if you qualify. A recent jury awarded $60 million in compensation to the family of a child who developed NEC. Families are now taking action. Visit govictory44.com now to see if you qualify for significant compensation. If your baby was given Similac or Enfamil and later diagnosed with NEC, you may qualify for significant compensation, but time is limited. Strict filing deadlines apply, and waiting could mean losing your opportunity for justice. Don't wait. Visit govictory44.com today to see if you qualify. That's govictory44.com.
Paid for by Victory Legal Network.
Now that I'm retired, I'm worried about making ends meet. Food, medicine, and rent cost more every day. And that's why I used benefitscheckup.org. It connected me to an extra $1,000 a month. Benefitscheckup.org is a free service from the National Council on Aging. In a few clicks, older adults like me can see if they might qualify for money-saving programs. If you're on a fixed income, benefitscheckup.org might help you too. For free. Visit today.
Supported by the U.S. Administration for Community Living. For generations, you've listened to us in your kitchen, catching baseball games on your front porch, and ending your day as your bedtime buddy. Now, you can watch us every day on your TV with our new KDKA Radio YouTube page, or by clicking on KDKARadio.com. It's presented by Metropolitan Windows. Same great content, more live visuals. The voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020. KDKA.
Mommy, how come I can't sit in the front seat?
Because I love you and you're just not ready yet.
Putting your kids in the right seat for their age and size is an act of love. Check that your kids are in the right seat at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Love protects. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Miss Fernandez, what are those tiny things?
Those are what we call amoebas. You can only see them through a microscope.
Wow.
Today's students are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators. But right now, there's a funding crisis in public schools. Millions of kids go to schools that don't have funding for books, computers, and so much more just because of where they live. You can help change that. Donors Choose is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You choose which supplies to support. You could provide first graders with pencils and paper, or other students with their first chapter books, help a music class get a guitar.
You could even supply a classroom like mine with a science project. But what you're really giving is the moment that sparks a brighter tomorrow.
To learn more, please visit DonorsChoose.org. That's DonorsChoose.org. Choose students. Shape the future.
New to Medicare, get covered with MediConnect. Listen Wednesdays around 1:40 to hear Lance O'Brien of MediConnect help you navigate the Medicare process. Simply great, unbiased information to get you the best healthcare coverage. Get covered with MediConnect. Medicare made simple.
Miss Fernandez, what are those tiny things?
Those are what we call amoebas. You can only see them through a microscope.
Wow. Today's students are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators. But right now, there's a funding crisis in public schools. Millions of kids go to schools that don't have funding for books, computers, and so much more just because of where they live. You can help change that. Donors Choose is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You choose which supplies to support. You could provide first graders with pencils and paper, or other students with their first chapter books, help a music class get a guitar.
You could even supply a classroom like mine with a science project. But what you're really giving is the moment that sparks a brighter tomorrow.
To learn more, please visit DonorsChoose.org. That's DonorsChoose.org. Choose students. Shape the future.
The KDKA AccuWeather forecast is brought to you by JP Roofing and Siding, Pittsburgh's #1 Platinum Preferred roofing replacement contractor. Call 412-829-7711.
Nice finish to the month of May. Mostly sunny this afternoon. I-76, partly cloudy tonight, low 48. Sunny to partly cloudy tomorrow. I-75, mostly sunny, still dry Tuesday, up to 75. For AccuWeather, I'm meteorologist John Feerick, 100.1 FM and AM 1020, KDKA.
All right, here we go. Be back with you on Monday, and it'll be a great one. Enjoy the weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday. Colin Dunlap right here, KDKA, 2 to 6.
All right, you and I together until 6, 866-391-1020, taking your phone calls. And yes, you may see me be a little exhausted, even though my exhausted is your excited, so let's just keep it real. That said, though, or my excited is probably, my exhausted is probably your caffeinated. My caffeinated is probably your intolerable, which is usually where I am. But that's it. You're going to probably see me a little tired. Look, I'm trying to put in the work with this audiobook. Halfway through. I'm trying to get done, I think, within the next 7 days. Just to give the powers that be an opportunity to kind of go through it. But that said, it's relative. And this is what I always tell people. Is it a grind? Yes. Why? Because it is more work than one would think it is. It does take something out of you. The flip side is, of course, it's not digging ditches. I am not rail splitting. I am not working in the mines. So I'm not delusional. I know that it's work. It's not manual work. It doesn't involve a shovel, a pick, a sledgehammer, or 12 hours in the sun. And it's a blessing. It definitely really is a blessing. So I get that, but you might see me a little tired. So don't mind me. I do want to get to this. This is a little bit of a different type of pivot. And again, 866-391-1020. You can call in and go in the direction you want to go in. I know how some of you all roll. It is what it is. But after hearing some of the stories, news stories and, water cooler stories over the last couple of days in the region, Actually, really over the last couple of weeks. It prompted me to kind of go with the theme that I had mentioned during my time at WVON, the Talk of Chicago, 1690 AM, back in the day. And it's this. You know, we're supposed to be excited when summertime comes around. We're supposed to be happy that there's going to be cookouts and nicer weather and baseball and outdoor activities and kids are out of school, so there's less running around and there's summer vacations and more relaxation and something else that rhymes with Asian and nation. Anyhow. But instead, and I won't necessarily assign blame, even though there are theories, of course. But instead of that excitement, there's anxiety. There's anxiety because you got kids wilding out on the south side. You got anxiety because you got kids wilding out Market Square. You got anxiety because you got kids beating up people at Whole Foods in East Liberty. Whole Foods? I mean, how much more of this weird construct, this weird blend of like the muckety-mucks of suburbia and the hood could you have than somebody jumping somebody at Whole Foods? Hello, that is my hummus. What? What did you call me? Pop, 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 pop. It makes no sense. But it highlights where we are. And this is what's tragic right now. We should be excited that summer is coming, not fearful. And I used to talk about this in Chicago. And everybody in Chicago used to feel this way. When summer came, you knew rat-tat-tat-tat was coming. You knew the violence was coming. And it did. It spiked quickly. And I remember telling people when I first came back, and I was a boomerang, so everybody asked me multiple times, are you sure you're from here? Yes, I'm from here. No, you're not. Yes, I am. You really from Pittsburgh? Yes, I am. I don't believe you. Then I had to pull out little weird colloquial stories about Mr. Steak in Penn Hills. Or, the Dunkin' Donuts that used to exist at this intersection that hasn't been there for 15 years. Or a bakery that existed last in 1981 for people to finally go, oh, you're from here. Oy. But when I first came back, people did not want to give me credence for saying things like this. Hey, y'all, if you're not careful, you're going to start having the problems that we left Chicago and said, well, at least we're going to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh doesn't have these issues. You're going to start having them here. People were like, no, we'll never have that. Like what? Like people shooting people in downtown in broad daylight. That would never happen. Homeless being every place. That would never happen. Gangs of kids just going into stores and bum rushing stores, just grabbing stuff. In Chicago, they used to have what were called flash mobs. And what a flash mob would do, a flash mob would just be like, okay, we're going to go to the Walgreens right off the end of the DuSable Bridge. And at 1:30, we're just going to run in there. You grab as much as you can and you run out. They can't catch us all. Don't get caught. And then, Saturday afternoon at 1:30, you'd have 50 kids just bum rush to the Walgreens, grab what they could, and run out. That would never happen in Pittsburgh. We're the most livable city. What do you got going on right now, folks? Sephora. Sephora? Again. Whole Foods and Sephora don't exactly scream inner city market. And yet you now have these issues here. I remember somebody I loved wanted to help with the human trafficking issue that was was a scourge of the nation. Hey, can I help the people here in Pittsburgh with human trafficking? We don't have that here. This is Pittsburgh. Next thing you know, you got billboards everywhere. And now you got kids that are indiscriminately committing crime or causing fights or shooting people. or as you heard about with Whole Foods, just jumping somebody and beating them into unconsciousness. And now here we sit in the city of Pittsburgh. New mayor. Fairly new county executive. One party rule in government with both. All kind of magazine headlines telling us how great we are, how wonderful we are. And yet, we're at a point in time where we're going to start doing the same things that I used to talk about in Chicago 15 years ago. People are afraid of the summertime. Why? Because schools are closing. So the kids that you were having a problem with 3 days a week, 4 days a week, you now are at risk of having problems with 7 days a week. Kennywood just implemented yesterday an all-day chaperone policy at the last minute because there was a genuine risk of a quote-unquote teenager takeover. Now, when I was young, a teenager takeover was a bunch of kids from Penn Hills after their prom showing up and trying to outdress each other. Yo, did you see who he dating now? So-and-so and so-and-so go together. Now, Tamara Rush is a Penn Hills person, so she know about that. We had the biggest school picnic back in the day. Penn Hills School District, which I was a part of, even though I didn't go to Penn Hills. That said, now teenager takeover means there might be a shooting at Kennywood, which there was a couple of years ago. If you want to call in here and say, okay, why are we here? 866-391-1020. We can go down that path if you like. But I wanted to start the show today talking about this was something that, one, I was told wasn't coming when I saw that it was. Number two, I said that you're going to have to get ahead of proactively, or else you're going to have this issue and you're going to be reacting to it. I was told I was nuts and I was making stuff up and I was trying to be sensationalized, and yet here we are. And three, here we are again at risk of losing another generation if we as adults aren't leading the kids. They're still kids. And if you just look at them just as hooligans, they're lost. And if you don't engage them and you treat them as adults, they're lost. Whether you're in elected office or you're just a parent or you're just in the community, there is something you should do. Now, every role is not equal, but everyone has a role. I told folks this was coming. I know people that do their part to try to turn this around, but more of you all can be doing this and not complaining about it. I told you we were getting to this point of time. It's unfortunate that the weather's changing, and we should be thankful and glad that the sun's out and it's great weather. And instead, there are many of us throughout our communities that are nervous because when the good weather comes out at night, the freaks come out at night, as a song from Houdini once said in the 1980s. 866-391-1020. I'll get on that in a little bit. I'll take your phone calls after the break on News Radio KDKA.
When the weather turns bad, turn to us for the best news, weather, and traffic information from the KDKA Radio Storm Center. Presented by Duquesne Light Company. Larger than light. Online and on the voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020. KDKA.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds, and you're overweight. Winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you, with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So, yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you gotta call Big Lou, because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds, too. Get a quote right now at 800-700-6898, 800-700-6898, or biglou.com.
When you get a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, things get real.
And nobody understands that better than the Parkinson's Foundation. All across the country, we provide resources and support in the fight against Parkinson's, a neurological disease that affects movement.
The Parkinson's Foundation is dedicated to improving care and advancing research towards a cure.
And when you call our helpline, you'll speak to a real person who can help you find the right information. Because while living with Parkinson's can be challenging, there are things you can do to improve your quality of life. So, whether you're newly diagnosed, have been living with Parkinson's for years, or caring for a loved one,
When Parkinson's gets real, find real answers at the Parkinson's Foundation.
go to parkinson.org or call our helpline at 1-800-4PD-INFO, 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Host. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethost.com/terms.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and the world's #1 expandable hose has gone ballistic. The brand new Pocket Hose Ballistic is here, and it's the hose I reach for every time. This brand new anti-burst sleeve uses an extraordinary new liquid crystal polymer used in bulletproof vests, tough enough to handle anything your outdoor tasks throw its way. And that's not all. The Pocket Hose Ballistic comes with even more upgrades like thicker washers that resist leaks and an enhanced UV coating so your hose looks brand new, year after year. What could be better than that? How about not one, but 2 free gifts with your purchase? For a limited time, when you purchase a new Pocket Hose Ballistic, you'll get a free 360-degree rotating pocket pivot and a free thumb drive nozzle. Just text SUMMER to 64,000. That's SUMMER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. That's SUMMER to 64,000.
SchultzFord.com. 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 SchultzFord.com.
All right, jumping to the phone lines right now, going to Anthony in Oakland. Kind sir, you're on KDK.
Well, you know what you were talking about. It wasn't a revelation. I mean, we've been watching this deterioration of the United States for a while.
Yep.
I mean, we used to say this on WCXJ back in the day.
Yes, you did 30 years ago.
Coming.
Yes, you did.
It's coming to with technology. It's just reaching a breaking point, and the installation of Soros DAs. These crazy democratic socialists that we've got in political positions like mayors and county execs. They're trying to rectify history, so no one deserves to go to jail. In their mindset, has turned us into Escape from New York all over the country, where you have these Soros and you have these progressive leaders. Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, Chicago. I saw that. I mean, what's ironic is the people complain about it, but they install these same people.
They keep voting for them.
You know, Lori Lightfoot was no different than Brandon Johnson.
Nope.
They just were different human beings, but they had the same philosophy. So they were tired of Lori Lightfoot. They put in Brandon Johnson to the point where we finally have Pritzker, the governor, calling him out. I was shocked when I saw that. What took you so long? Your city is being destroyed. You know what took him? You know what did it? Pushed him over the edge?
Running for president.
The Bears may be moving.
Oh, that too. To Indiana. That too.
Yes.
That too.
That's it. So what do we have here? What do we have here? Well, we've got a county council, and you've got a county exec. And thank God, the only thing that saved, really just giving us a glimmer of hope, was the DA survived from the progressive who tried to knock him out, Zappala.
And actually knocked him out of the Democratic primary. He had to go run as a Republican, dual run, end up running on the Republican side and winning that way.
And we're in trouble. We're in trouble because there's no juvenile facility. There was money set aside by Fitzgerald to get Schumann up and running. What did they do? What did those feeble minds down there on Ross and Grand Street do? They slow-walked it. It's not open. So the criminal element, they're not stupid. They know that there's no repercussions for their actions. So now you have technology online, and they need to start going after the people who are putting the stuff online to get these little hoodlums to go out and do it. But it doesn't matter because they have no parents. When you have no parents, you have no discipline, you've been brought up like a pack of wolves, this is the result. Where good citizens pay the price. So I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. And I would tell any law-abiding citizen, don't leave home without it. Don't.
And
they don't respect you.
Let's get to that point of it, Anthony, before I go to the news. I may hold you over after as well. All right, so if that ends up being the case and they don't put a kibosh on this sooner than later, that's going to be the remedy of somebody, and all it takes is for somebody to pull a legal weapon and shoot a 17-year-old because in the process of being robbed and being threatened, somebody pulls a gun and harms or kills somebody. Then this place explodes. And again, I've been told that's being hyperbolic, and it's like, we're not that far away from it. It's one incident. It is literally one incident away. And then you're going to have people saying, well, they may have been robbing you, but they weren't going to really harm you because they didn't show a weapon. You didn't have to shoot them. Or and then now you're doing the justification of people committing a crime. Just the same, and this is something, and I'm going to actually hold you to go over the break, so hang tight, because I know you got more to say. This, it's hard for me, and this is me being selfish. Anthony, I'll get you after the news. Then I'm going to Ross. Others 866-391-1020. It's hard for me. It's not hard for me. I still do it, but it makes me have to be really good with the nuance to be able to say that I am against stop and frisk as a violation of constitutional rights via the Fourth Amendment. And then on the other side, I have people on the very far extreme of one side of the political spectrum that doesn't really want to have consequences for crimes. So then the police feel like the only way I can prevent these crimes is to do things like stop and frisk. If I see somebody that might look like they could possibly do something wrong, I'm going to proactively accost them, which leads to, just very selfishly, the constitutional rights of my children. I got 4 sons. The constitutional rights of my children being violated because we can't institute consequences on people that are trying to break our laws. So trying to bring some sense of American balance back to constitutional prisms becomes harder and harder to do. And by the way, for all of you that can't stand Donald Trump, this is where he jumps on it, because with the crime issue, he's right. Then he goes to that, and this is why you should have stop and frisk. If one part doesn't do their part in a place that's built for us all to do our part, to Anthony's point, the handwriting is clearly on the wall, and it's not that hard to read. Get back to Anthony after the news, and Ross and others, 866-391-1020. Hour 1, now in the books. Hour 2, coming up. News Radio KDKA.
Now that I'm retired, I'm worried about making ends meet. Food, medicine, and rent cost more every day. And that's why I used benefitscheckup.org. It connected me to an extra $1,000 a month. Benefitscheckup.org is a free service from the National Council on Aging. In a few clicks, older adults like me can see if they might qualify for money-saving programs. If you're on a fixed income, benefitscheckup.org might help you too. For free, visit today.
Supported by the U.S. Administration for Community Living.
While you sleep, there are people you've never met who are working hard to make your morning. People who get up at ungodly hours to make sure you get the information you want. People who dedicate their lives to make yours better while you sleep. These people come together during the Big K Morning Show with Larry Richert, 5:30 to 10 in the morning, to make sure you have the best news, traffic, and weather to start your day. 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA. 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA, covered by JP Roofing and Siding, Pittsburgh's #1 platinum roofing company.
Miss Fernandez, what are those tiny things?
Those are what we call amoebas. You can only see them through a microscope.
Wow. Today's students are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators. But right now, there's a funding crisis in public schools. Millions of kids go to schools that don't have funding for books, computers, and so much more just because of where they live. You can help change that. Donors Choose is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You choose which supplies to support. You could provide first graders with pencils and paper, or other students with their first chapter books, help a music class get a guitar.
You could even supply a classroom like mine with a science project. But what you're really giving is the moment that sparks a brighter tomorrow.
To learn more, please visit DonorsChoose.org. That's DonorsChoose.org. Choose students. Shape the future.
Listen to KDKA Radio on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps.
KDKA and KDKA-FM HD2 Pittsburgh. W261AX Pittsburgh.
Always live on the free Odyssey app. From the Aetna Medicare studios.
Proud to be the voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
From ABC News, I'm Mike Dubusky. The debate over the Trump administration's immigration policy has descended on Newark, New Jersey, where police arrested 3 people after clashing with ICE agents last night. Those individuals were protesting the alleged conditions at Delaney Hall, a migrant detention facility. New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill speaking today.
We will continue to look for ways to allow people to continue to protest because, make no mistake, I am very concerned about what's going on at Delaney Hall. And this is all taking away from the protesters who have been very, I think, effective at bringing attention to that.
The Israeli Defense Forces say a car ramming attack in the West Bank injured 3 people today. The Israeli army says it dispatched soldiers to the area, and one of them shot and killed the assailant. Earlier today, Lebanese officials updated the death toll from the fighting with Israel, now topping 3,400 people. It all comes as a peace agreement to end the fighting between the U.S. and Iran remains elusive.
There's still no deal with Iran, despite President Trump saying for weeks now that a deal is close. In a taped interview that aired last night, President Trump said the U.S. is, in his words, close to a very good deal with Iran. He says Iran has agreed not to build a nuclear weapon, but he wants them to agree not to buy one either.
Overnight, CENTCOM says it disabled another ship trying to breach the U.S. blockade on its way to an Iranian port. To the Democratic Republic of the Congo now, where a deadly Ebola outbreak is growing. ABC foreign correspondent Marcus Moore.
Reported cases of Ebola nearly doubling in just days. The World Health Organization chief traveling to the epicenter of this outbreak to assess the response. We know that more than 240 people are dead, and there are over 1,000 suspected and confirmed infections in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and in neighboring Uganda.
Health officials say the risk of this outbreak spreading to the global population remains low. You're listening to ABC News.
Hot summer days and high energy bills are on the way. Upgrade your home's old leaky windows this month during Window Nation's Buy 4 Get 4 free sale. Yes, half of your new beautiful energy efficient windows free. Plus no money down and no monthly payments or interest for 2 years. Call now 866-200-8670 or windownation.com. In select markets, trust our family of brands, New South Window and ArmorView. That's 866-200-8670 or windownation.com to book a consultation.
I've been telling you all about the secret war on our cash and the free report you can receive a copy of by contacting Swiss America at 800-289-2646. I'd also like to encourage you to subscribe to their podcast on YouTube. Just search Swiss America Trading. The podcast can provide you a ton of vital information and financial news in the challenging and uncertain times we're in. Subscribe today. Learn more about BRICS, industry leaders, and their market predictions for the future, along with what you might expect to see in terms of precious metal performance in the weeks and months ahead. Message and data rates may apply.
A new drug shows some benefits for people diagnosed with one of the deadliest kinds of cancer. ABC's Brian Clark has more.
In a trial, patients with metastatic pancreatic cancer who took a new drug almost doubled their survival time. The daily pill, not chemotherapy, blocks a protein that fuels tumor growth. Of 500 patients, those who took the drug lived for a median of 13.2 months compared to 6.7 months for chemotherapy patients. The study was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, presented Sunday at the American Society for Clinical Oncology's meeting. The FDA plans to expedite its review. Brian Clark, ABC News.
Meanwhile, a new blood test is showing some promising signs of detecting a person's likelihood of developing cancer. The trial of the screening from a company called Galleri found an increase in cancer detections that were caught in earlier stages. ABC medical contributor Dr. Darian Sutton says more studies are needed.
This company is submitting this information to the FDA. If it is approved, we might see an approval as early as 2027, but there's still more evidence that's needed to see if this can be covered by insurance.
And in Utah, 20 boats had to be removed from the Great Salt Lake State Park Marina because the water level in that lake has gotten too low. Water officials there say it was a record low year for snowpack, which has contributed to the problem, also citing exacerbating factors like drought and climate change. The last time the lake has been this low was back in 2022. I'm Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
If you're in the Pittsburgh area and caring for a loved one with Medicaid, get paid starting today. Freedom Care has already helped over 162,000 families get the care they deserve, with 97% satisfaction and more than 8,000 five-star reviews. If you have Medicaid, you need to hear this. You may qualify to choose a caregiver you already trust, a family member or friend, and they can start getting paid. No agencies, no strangers, just someone you know, helping with meals, medication, bathing, mobility, and more. This service isn't for later, it's for right now. It's 100% free to you through Medicaid, and caregivers get paid right away after their shift. Find out if you qualify today. Call 412-801-7213. That's 412-801-7213. Don't wait. Call 412-801-7213 now. Again, 412-801-7213. Freedom Care. Get paid to care starting now.
Freedom Care. We're here for
The KDKA AccuWeather forecast is brought to you by JP Roofing and Siding, Pittsburgh's #1 Platinum Preferred Roofing Replacement Contractor. Call 412-829-7711.
Mostly sunny and beautiful out there for this afternoon. A high up to 76, and then partly cloudy tonight, the low 48. Comfortable again for tomorrow. Sunny to partly cloudy I-75. Mostly sunny Tuesday, again up into the mid-70s. For AccuWeather, I'm John Feerick, 100.1 FM and AM 1020, KDKA.
All right, Anthony, go ahead and continue before I let you go, kind sir.
Look, man, this is personal to me. The fellow they beat up was a good friend of mine. I got him a job with me over 15 years ago. He's a good dude. And because he wouldn't buy these little hooligans, he wouldn't go in and purchase liquor for them, they beat him to an inch of his life. He lost an eye from these punks. And the reason why the punks got caught, because they got great cameras all over that place, and the PNC Bank has cameras all around it. So they were able to put APB out because they knew exactly what they looked like. They were down at another store where the Whole Foods used to be on Center.
Yep.
Robbing that store. That's how they got them. So there's a gang of hooligans and criminals who are just running rampant, beating people up. I mean, he's in bad shape, man. And it's a shame because he wouldn't go buy liquor for these punks. So this is where we're at in America today. And it's a toxic brew because you got these prosecutors, Soros prosecutors, and judges who just, I don't know what they're doing, but they're supposed to be looking out for the safety of the citizenry.
Well, what they're doing, Anthony, is I will interject this, and I'll give you the microphone, then I'll let you go to Ross and Uptown and others at 866-391-1020. They're more concerned about winning elections than they are about governing the electorate. And if you're focused on winning elections, you're really not even focused on November. You're focused on the spring. You're focused on as much fundraising money as you can get. You're focused on being to the fringe of either political side, in this instance, the left. And you're focused on winning, knowing that if you win in the spring, you don't have competition in the fall. And as long as you keep those folks happy, you keep going back. Versus saying, once I'm here, there's work to do. You don't bid on a job, and then once you get the job, you don't put shovel to ground and start doing the work that you put the bid in for. But that's how it works in politics these days.
Well, I'm looking for open primaries to eliminate this nonsense in the primaries, and that. Hopefully, both sides will lose on that instance. But listen, that's why I'm listening to Mickey Sherrill up here in Jersey, She helped foment these little hooligans to go out and go to a federal facility to cause all kind of havoc. Okay, and now she wants to send in the state police and everything. Well, she should have done that in the first place, because they're just exercising their rights. Well, then if they're exercising their rights on supposedly for illegals who are in the country, then why are they dressed like Yasser Arafat? Why are they just like him? Let me say something, and I'll let you go, Letty. I've been a part of the civil rights movement when I was a youth Black Panther since late 60s, early 70s. And I was a union rep and organized. We got permits. I did it the right way. If they had called for a protest and it's at night, it's illegitimate and it's ripe for mischief. There's no legitimate protest at night, people. Take it from me. All right, good night, man.
Thank you, kind sir. And to that point that Anthony brings up, and again, 866-391-1020. Even if you're saying, well, my people, I only have 150 people, and I know every single one of them, they're not going to cause mischief. Well, at night, you might know 150 people that you invited, but I bet you your bottom dollar there's going to be 200 people that show up. Who are the other 50? It takes 10 to do something that's not on your agenda and it's affiliated with you. People forget. You may feel one way or the other way about what happened in Ferguson, but a lot of what went down in Ferguson, with the tear gassing and everything else, happened at night. Now, I say this and I go to Ross. People forget that Ferguson was 12 years ago. That's 12 years of this fermenting in the American fabric and fraying it as a result. Ross in Uptown, you're on KDKA.
Yes, I was telling the screener most of my work history was security work. And you were saying 15 years ago in Chicago, you were saying that the wave was coming. 25 years ago, it was general knowledge that negative things from the West Coast come to the East, slowly come to Pittsburgh, and you accentuated that. And hopefully Anthony's still listening, because there's been a handful of times I've on the air disagreed with him, but I can't disagree with him minus the generalizations today, because as you were saying earlier, one incident, and he knows this gentleman, Lance and I, one incident where someone from a caring puts someone down, and in this instance we're talking about the young folks, and you have your explosion you're talking about. Now, briefly, Chris Moore used to nickname me his chief of security. That was a reference to I had shared on air an incident where in between security work, I was jitney, and you're talking about your bona fides, off the old jitney line on Senator Kirkpatrick in the Hill District.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that jitney station and a few others. But go ahead.
Well, off the walk-up line across from Todd's bar. Okay. Anyway, I interrupted the robbery. Didn't use proper procedure because I was concerned about the two regular customers who were working at the bar were about to come out and get my jitney out, take them out. Well, working with the Pittsburgh Police Department later, during my recovery, realized that, you engaged with a guy who retired from dope dealing to robbing dope dealers. Of course, I didn't know that at the time. Yeah, but here's another little thing that I guess I usually don't do this, but that was in 1999.
Yeah.
And everybody involved was African American. Now, as you were opening the show talking about how I said the word red, and you said, oh, well, it's a shame that we're at this point. Oh, real quickly, listening, I think it was Friday, and Anthony made this comment, and I have to sadly agree with him when he's talking about if engaged and jumped in ways about even if you would have been in the Whole Foods, you might have had that one incident. And the gentleman that calls Marty all the time, who's Caucasian, he says he would probably be quicker throwing because he has medical issues. If he gets knocked down, he can't get up.
Yep.
We're at a bad point. But I enjoy the fact that you used the term wilding. Wilding is an old phrase. But now, creepily, Pittsburgh is seeing what wilding is about. And wilding is not race-based. Wilding is the rainbow. But everybody can see with the social media aspect of things that accentuated back in your time, 15 years ago, the wave was increased, expanded, more able to see. And now we have these necessary but somewhat shocking precautions that have to be taken to get with.
Yep.
Sad. It's very sad. Oh, real quickly, did you get to talk to any of your people, and did anyone recognize them?
Not yet, but I will get to them. I didn't get a chance to get to it this week, and I've been, as I mentioned, I was
really busy.
Yeah, in between the audiobook and everything else, but I will get to it this week. Does that work?
Okay. Yeah, well, like I said, I'm still in recovery, so, I'm current recovery since I prostate cancer put me a little setback.
Well,
That's
listen,
why I said,
Ross, you continue to, I always appreciate your call, kind sir. You continue to heal up, and I look forward to you calling again soon. Anthony, both you and Ross, I appreciate both of your phone calls. And look, before I go to the break and before I go back to the phones at 866-391-1020, again, I don't think that it's irreversible, but there has to be a proactive approach to this. And this is a scary thought, too. What people don't realize is if you do not take a thoughtful, proactive approach to dealing with crime appropriately, and not crime as in the statistics, because, look, we've had politicians call in here and tell me about how the statistics are going down. But what happens and what's reported are two different things. I used to tell people 3 years ago, I used to go downtown. We go to church on Saturdays or early Sundays, then go downtown and shoot basketball. I said, when I first moved back here, I could take my kids downtown. They can walk ahead of me, walk behind me. It's no big deal. Then over the last couple of years, there's like feces and other kind of craziness on the sidewalk going on or with people that I know ain't right. Now, my kids are a little older, but a couple years ago, I was like, no. The 9 and 10-year-old, you got to stay with me. Heck, even the 12 and 13-year-old, or 11, 12, 13-year-old, you got to stay with me. And that wasn't the case not that long ago in downtown Pittsburgh on a Sunday. I point out to people, there was a young kid in a car seat that was shot in downtown Pittsburgh on a Sunday at 11:30 in the morning not that long ago. These are things that did not transpire here previously. And here's my point. If you do not address the actual crime that's going downtown, the things that you hear about on social media, the things that are reported in the news but do not become official statistics, this is how you get policies like the school-to-prison pipeline construction from the 1990s. And the approach to it is we throw everybody in jail and we overcharge. Something that should have landed you in the clink for 18 months, we now have you in there for 7 years. We now use stop and frisk disproportionately, thinking that it's just the black community that's doing this stuff. So you don't stop and frisk the kids from Carrick, the white kids from Carrick, but you stop and frisk the Blue Blazes. That doesn't sound very black, but I'm still in black. The Blue Blazes out of kids in Homewood and East Liberty, in Braddock, in Rankin. We'll stop them every other block. And, by the way, we will overcharge them, too. If they act out in school, what used to be a cafeteria fight over, that's my girlfriend, and then you make the kids go mop the floor together. Now you put them both in some type of facility for 90 days. over basically the equivalent of, the first 15 minutes of West Side Story. So my point is, which, by the way, I haven't seen West Side Story, so if you tell me like 10 people got killed in West Side Story, it's like, oops, bad analogy. That said, my point is, when you do not lead and you do not govern, whether you're leading in your household or governing in office, overreaction's coming somewhere, and that overreaction could be an all-encompassing law, 3 strikes, school to prison pipeline, that wrecks 1 to 2 generations of a community. We're still paying for school to prison pipeline from the late 80s and early 90s. We're still paying for it 30 years later. We cannot screw this up again. We're already behind other countries in the world academically, scholastically, technologically, from an infrastructure standpoint, from a government trust standpoint, from an economic standpoint, we're losing ground. And geoeconomic and geopolitical trust. We cannot afford to screw it up this time around. 866-391-1020. Getting back to the phone lines. I'll get to Phil after the break on News Radio KDKA.
Your source for everything that's news. Hear it on News Radio KDKA.
Pittsburgh, get ready. Three Rivers Comic-Con is celebrating its 10th year in 2026, and it's bigger than ever. Meet comic creators, shop unique vendors, and dive into a full day of fandom fun for all ages. Whether you're into comics, art, cosplay, or collectibles, this is the event you don't want to miss. Join the celebration and be part of a decade of comics culture. Get your tickets for Three Rivers Comic-Con 2026 at threeriverscomiccon.com or at the door. Presented by New Dimension Comics.
The Pittsburgh Speaker Series at Heinz Hall, presented by University of Pittsburgh, announces its 26-27 season. 7 evenings to deepen your understanding of the world around you, featuring Anderson Cooper, former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, historian Anne Applebaum, financial journalist Andrew Ross Sorkin, and former NASA Administrator Charles Bolden. The series is sponsored by News Radio KDKA and the Spanos Group of Raymond James. Tickets on sale now at pittsburghspeakers.org.
You've got better things to do this summer than deal with old appliances. That's why right now at Lowe's, you can still get in on Memorial Day savings and get up to 45% off select major appliances. Plus, get up to an additional 25% off when you bundle select major appliances. It's time to upgrade what's outdated. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 6/3. While supplies last, selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance. And now we're customizing this rush hour ad to keep you calm, which could help your driving. And science says therapy is great for a healthy mindset. So enjoy this 14-second session on us. I think you've done everything right and absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, anything that hasn't gone your way could probably be blamed on your father not being emotionally available because his father wasn't emotionally available, and so on. And now that you're calm and healing, you're probably driving better too.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Listen to KDKA Radio on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps.
All right, let me head back to the phone lines because as a radio show host, there's some type of literal law that I have to take phone calls. Or else I wouldn't do it. That's not true. Or is it? No, it's not true. I'm just kidding. 866-391-1020. Going back to the phone lines. Phil in Homewood, you're on KDK.
Hey, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, child of God. How are you?
Amen to that. And, what I just want to say this. We hear people being angry, lashing out at these kids. You got to understand, some of these kids weren't raised with any type of moral compass whatsoever. A lot of them come with backgrounds where the parents weren't either unavailable, they weren't raised with a moral compass. They don't chastise their kids. I was in this Liberty.
Hold on, Phil. I got to short circuit this. When you get to a certain age, and if Anthony's story is 100% valid, which he has no need to come in here and lie. So I'm taking it as 100% truth. As a preteen, as an 8-year-old, If you go to somebody you don't know and ask for something that you shouldn't have, and they tell you no, you do not have a right to beat them up. That doesn't take, moral complexity. That's basic. Your 4-year-old knows if somebody has something, you do not have the right to go up and sock them in the face because they have a lollipop that you want. That's something that you know innately at 3 and 4 years old. Much less asking somebody to buy you alcohol. They say no, and then you jump them, and it costs the individual an eye. I understand what they didn't grow up with. I understand some of the advantages, and I'm willing to work on those things, but I'm not willing to take that leap with you.
All right, well, you see 4-year-olds do hit each other in the eye, and they take each other's balls, and they take each other's candy. When they get jealous, they'll take each other's toys.
Yes, I get that.
To a certain age, and the peer pressure seems to go always in a negative way. And I don't see them peer pressuring out there to go and have a little revival or something. I don't see them going out there trying to help the other children with their schoolwork and everything like that. So the peer pressure seems to always be in a negative.
It's not necessarily true. I've watched my kids with peer pressure from their groups reinforce positive things, reinforce being volunteers, reinforce being leaders in the community. I love my kids, the class of 2024 at CDTCA. I watched them mentor a whole school worth of kids as 8th graders, all the way down to the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd graders, because the boys and the girls of that group, there was 28 of them or so, they all were kind-hearted to people that were in kindergarten and 1st grade, kids that won't even be out of grade school by the time they're in college. So I've seen it both ways. And on top of that, I was at Westinghouse High School with Leon Ford just a couple of weeks ago, and I saw people enacting peer pressure in positive ways at Westinghouse High School. So it does exist.
But are you saying what I'm saying is invalid? Just because you children had that experience? I'm pretty sure it's because you instilled those values in them.
I just said that it happened. I just saw it at Westinghouse. And hold on, Phil. I'm going to I'm going to hold you on. I'm going to give you more time to talk after the news break. What I also said was, I brought up that example from the suburbs, and then I went to my parents' alma mater that I saw a couple of weeks ago, and the same exact spark of life and hope and kindness and respect and intelligence and talent and joy and potential and the smiles that light up rooms. I saw the same exact thing at Westinghouse High School with kids that had similar disadvantages that you're talking about. They're all peers in many, many, many regards. Same neighborhoods, same socioeconomic backgrounds by and large, some of the same family dynamics. And I watched those kids shake my hand, look me eye to eye, smile, joke, pay attention, be smart, be kind, be respectful. And they took their peer groups and they did it together. So it can happen anywhere. So I'm not buying into that you ain't have a daddy, so you didn't know not to beat people up, much less beat people up that wouldn't give you alcohol. You know, it's funny. I just talked to my daddy yesterday. My daddy always tells me, I didn't have a daddy. You ain't see me doing that. He didn't have a daddy. And when he met his daddy was like, not the type of dude you even wanted to meet. And my dad came from 12 of them. And none of them did that. So I get it. I understand what you're saying. I vehemently disagree. And it doesn't mean you just leave them to their own wiles. You don't leave them to their own devices. There are things we need to do. I'm willing to do those things too, and I've been doing it for many, many years, and I will continue to do it in whatever way I possibly can. Whatever door God opens up for me, I will walk through to help people and serve people. But they have to have a certain standard as well. Phil, I'll get back to you others. 866-391-1020 after the news on News Radio KDKA.
Been 30 time, would have been 30, no, would have been 30, being 30, been 29, if that'll help, been 29,000.
Get ready to bid on the equipment you need in the Ritchie Brothers Northeast Regional Auction on June 23rd. Inventory is housed at locations in Pittsburgh, North Franklin, and Northeast Maryland with in-person inspections available. Bid on a wide selection of construction and transportation equipment. Don't miss this great opportunity. Visit rbauction.com/Pittsburgh to sign up. Again, that's rbauction.com/Pittsburgh.
If you or anyone you care about is facing a family legal matter, call Cordell and Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL or visit CordellCordell.com to schedule your consultation.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. Divorce touches all areas of your life: your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on. Visit CordellCordell.com to schedule your consultation.
If you or anyone you care about is facing divorce, contact Cordell and Cordell today. With over 100,000 clients served, we understand the challenges you're facing on a personal level. Call Cordell and Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL. That's 1-855-GET-LEGAL. Pittsburgh and Cranberry Township. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois.
Straight Talk Wireless presents Pickup Truck Wisdom.
Trust is earned. That's why I've stuck with Straight Talk. Same price since 2009 on Verizon's 5G network. Cause shoot, anyone can make a promise. Keeping it for years, that means something.
Now plans starting at $25 a month with 4 lines. Find us at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Straight Talk Wireless. Straightforward. Always. Same price claim applies only to the base monthly price of our $45 plan from October 2009 to present.
News, weather, traffic, and business every day. Hear it on News Radio KDKA. From the Aetna Medicare Studios.
Proud to be the voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
ABC News, I'm Mike Dubusky. 3 people were taken into custody by police last night during the latest standoff between ICE agents and protesters in Newark, New Jersey. Demonstrations have cropped up protesting the conditions that detainees report inside a migrant detention facility there called Delaney Hall.
The barricades separated them. Freedom all! But their words clashed across the divide.
I am a proud boy and proud of it.
Immigration came to my house at 4 in the morning, broke down my door, and took all of my tenants.
Immigration advocates say they're standing in solidarity with hundreds of detainees staging a hunger strike over what they call deplorable conditions inside.
ABC's Crystal Cranmore in New Jersey. The IDF now says 3 people were injured during a deliberate car ramming attack in the West Bank today, and the Ebola outbreak in Central Africa continues to trouble global health authorities with over 900 suspected cases. This is ABC News.
Get connected. That's the Inside Connection this Saturday morning at 9 with your local Medicare experts from MediConnect. If you're turning 65, hear all the inside information available to seniors on the Inside Connection, presented by MediConnect. Medicare made simple.
When you get a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, things get real.
And nobody understands that better than the Parkinson's Foundation. All across the country, we provide resources and support in the fight against Parkinson's, a neurological disease that affects movement.
The Parkinson's Foundation is dedicated to improving care and advancing research towards a cure.
And when you call our helpline, you'll speak to a real person who can help you find the right information. Because while living with Parkinson's can be challenging, there are things you can do to improve your quality of life. So, whether you're newly diagnosed, have been living with Parkinson's for years, or caring for a loved one,
When Parkinson's gets real, find real answers at the Parkinson's Foundation.
go to parkinson.org or call our helpline at 1-800-4PD-INFO, 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
When you call yourself the voice of Pittsburgh, you have to know when to not talk. Sometimes you just need to be the ears of Pittsburgh. Just listen. Listen to what you have to say. These are complicated and uncertain times. But when you need us, we're here for you. And we're listening. A trusted source that you can count on to be here. 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
In the United States, a vehicle is stolen every 31 seconds, about as long as this message. Luckily, you can take a few easy steps to protect your car in the same amount of time. Remove your valuables, roll up your windows, don't leave your car running unattended, lock your doors, and take your keys or fob. If you have information about a crime, call the police. If you suspect insurance fraud, contact NICB at reportinsurancefraud.org. A public service message from the National Insurance Crime Bureau.
Ms. Fernandez, what are those tiny things?
Those are what we call amoebas. You can only see them through a microscope.
Wow.
Today's students are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators. But right now, there's a funding crisis in public schools. Millions of kids go to schools that don't have funding for books, computers, and so much more just because of where they live. You can help change that. Donors Choose is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You choose which supplies to support. You could provide first graders with pencils and paper, or other students with their first chapter books, help a music class get a guitar.
You could even supply a classroom like mine with a science project. But what you're really giving is the moment that sparks a brighter tomorrow.
To learn more, please visit DonorsChoose.org. That's DonorsChoose.org. Choose students. Shape the future.
The KDKA AccuWeather forecast is brought to you by JP Roofing and Siding, Pittsburgh's #1 Platinum Preferred Roofing Replacement Contractor. Call 412-829-7711.
Nice finish to the month of May. Mostly sunny this afternoon. I-76, partly cloudy tonight, low 48. Sunny to partly cloudy tomorrow. I-75, mostly sunny, still dry Tuesday, up to 75. For AccuWeather, I'm meteorologist John Feerick, 100.1 FM and AM 1020, KDKA.
Hi, this is Larry Richard. Join us Monday on the Big K Morning Show, 5:30 until 9, as we welcome the month of June with a list of things that you can do in and around our hometown.
Phil, do you understand where I'm coming from? That I'm not saying just let them be and just, throw them all in jail. In fact, that's my concern, is that the approach will be they're lost. They're a lost generation. They're never going to reform, blah, 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 and you just throw them in jail and throw away the key. I am not for that. That's why I brought up the school-to-prison pipeline. That's why I brought up other policies from the 90s, and that's why I brought up the ramifications 30 years later of taking that approach. But at the same exact time, there's a reason why we can't just come with you don't understand where they come from. Well, let's understand where they come from. Let's put what we need to put in place to make their communities better, our communities better, and our communities safer. But part of the social contract, and Phil, I'm coming to you in just a second, part of the social contract is they know what's right and wrong. They got to live up to that. What say you, sir?
And I agree with you totally, and I'm not trying to lump everybody into one group. What I'm saying is, though, when the kids in Westinghouse, I went to Westinghouse. Westinghouse was different when I went there. We didn't have all this nonsense when I was there because the teachers and the principals weren't standing for it, Mr. Vassar and things like that. But these children now, they get away with a lot. I mean, I see all these kids, and I got a little scared, and they all had on designer clothes. They all had on designer tennis shoes, and they all had iPhones. And they all call each other, and they get together, and they start wanting to gang up on somebody because I used to get jumped all the time because I was the only child. So they feel like there's only strength in numbers. I would love to see those kids that you were talking about in Westinghouse come out in the streets with me and talk to some of them guys and talk to some of them young ladies that don't know that there's another possibilities for them. But in my local Giant Eagle, when I go to Walmart, when I go to Target, I'm always giving them young people praise. I tell them, you're doing the right thing. You're going to be all right. This is how you build success, that you don't have anybody looking over your shoulders. But, when they have this Airbnb things. 200-300 people show up.
Yeah.
And they always commit mischief. And we have to. I was fortunate. God blessed me enough to be able to keep my children out of the gangs, out of trouble, and out of jail. But I had gangbangers and drug dealers on one side of our house and a drug dealer on the other side of our house. But what we used to do is, because I asked the boys, my sons don't want to be in gangs. Please don't try to get them in there. And we would play badminton, we played football. We had all kinds of things. My wife would barbecue for them, and they left us alone. And they respected us. These children are growing up basically on their own.
Phil, listen.
Yes,
I used to walk through the south side of Chicago at 1:30 in the morning after getting off Metro, and that was after I was coming from Libertyville at a Tea Party event. And I was walking through gang territory, and they fist-pounded me and left me alone, or they watched me and left me alone. My wife would push the stroller with my 1-year-old in it. They'd open the door for her. Tell your husband we said hello. So, again, this is why I'm saying it can't be an approach where you just say, well, they want to do something wrong, throw their blanks in jail and, lock them up and get rid of the blank and key. No, there's a way to approach this, but number one, there's a part of the social contract they got to live up to. Number two, the people that have platforms of authority and power have to do their part. They have to do their part, and if they're not inclined to do it, whether they're teachers, principals, school administrators, on school boards, or running school districts, and it's not just Pittsburgh, but other school districts, or you're in an elected office, and you can't be visionary, and your approach to this is sticking either your hands in your pockets or your thumb up your you know what, then guess what? Get out the way and let somebody fix the problem. And that's just kind of how I feel about it, because I knew this was coming, and people told me I was being grandiose. People were telling me this ain't Chicago. This ain't Chicago. Well, you know what? This ain't the Pittsburgh you think it is either. This ain't the region that it could be. I just said I was on both sides of the fence podcast. It'll be coming out later this month. I said, again, this region is world-renowned, not world-class. It needs to go back to being world-class. And when you have these type of things going on, you can't be world-class. You'll be world-renowned. Hooray, everybody knows what a terrible towel is. Nobody wants to live here the same way.
We need to get our leaders and our pastors and young people who are in leadership position to be able to come to the school and speak. We used to have assemblies.
No, Phil. No, you don't need
we
that.
got to guide these children. You can't tell me these children don't need some type of guidance.
No, they do need guidance, but you don't need them coming into school. You need them leading. Because you need them leading.
They don't see anything but anywhere but in school.
Phil, Ed Gainey went to all kind of schools around here. He went to all kind of schools around here.
That's not a community. That's one man.
You got other people doing it. Austin Davis does it. Other community leaders do it. They go around to these schools. They go around and they talk. But if you're not leading with the platforms you have, I don't really give a flip if you're only doing 10 minutes of public speaking. And I say that as a public speaker. I know that if I'm out there just giving speeches and just doing radio, and I'm not examining the public policy, and I'm not engaging people where they are, and I'm not having tough conversations and standing up for the right things, nobody cares what I say. And that's where
Are you
that's
willing
what they
to
don't
come
get.
out in the community with me and address these young people?
I'll do it this week. I'm going to put you on hold. Give your information to Mike. Give your information to Mike. We'll talk. I promise you. I'm about that life because I love our communities and I love this region and I love America. And I'm not just saying it. So give your information to Mike. We'll make it happen. I'm looking forward to shaking your hand. There's a local pizza shop that one of my buddies from the Mark Drive family owns in Homewood. You can get me a slice of pizza. See how I made that work for you and me? A little bit of lunch, a little bit of hanging out. So I'm looking forward to catching up to you. I appreciate your call, Phil. Let's catch up. That said, 866-391-1020. Patricia in Bloomfield, you're on KDKA.
Yes, Mr. Lenny, you are so smart. I would start a campaign for you to be president. You just said a lot of right. No, I'm serious. My thinking, your common sense, you're articulate, you know history, you know people. Anyway, getting back to this problem, you just opened my eyes about teenagers. When I was young, we were poor. We lived in the first public project at Ambridge, John F. Kennedy Apartments, all right?
Okay.
There's all kinds of stuff going on. We went to Catholic school. To tell you the truth, we were so afraid to do something wrong because we thought we would be, who knows what would happen to us. So whenever we were kids and we heard something bad was going on, what happened to the kids? Well, they went to Allencrest, which was a juvenile facility in Beaver County, all right?
Okay.
But my point is, being that we grew up that way, we could, I said to my sister, I'm between, I said, you know what? We could have gone either way. If we would have had contact like these kids do, got in, you know what? We would have gone the wrong way, but we knew better. And, in the school, Catholic school changes. But getting back to that, I called Marty the other day. I live in Bloomfield. I'm a senior citizen. I have a walking problem. I take a car to do my grocery shopping. All the areas in East Liberty that they had these problems with, guess who shops there?
You?
Me.
Yeah.
Me, with a cart. So I said, now what am I supposed to do? I'm a law-abiding, tax-paying citizen, and when I go to the store, I'm a target. Am I not going to go to the grocery store? But my sister said, because she's a little more intelligent than me, just what she said. You can't just say, throw them up and walk away the key. There's reasons for the behavior, just like with anything that goes on historically. You're so intelligent, you know. There's reasons why people behave they do. You have to talk, like you said, you just can't talk. You got to show them. You have to go out. Like I'm at the bus stop. I talk to all these kids, young teenagers. You know what? You got to engage them. My talk would say, hey, what are you doing? Done with school? You know what I'm saying? You just can't block them out and say they're all bad kids and turn, you know what I mean? And turn your eye in earshot away from them. You're exactly right. You have to engage them. You have to get them and teach them by example, whatever.
Yeah, and
you're a good man.
Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate your phone call. And the flip side of that is you have to build out opportunities. I am tired of public policies that are primarily focused on keeping people just poor enough to be poor. We're supposed to be building towards prosperity. We're supposed to be building structures that allow kids to see a better future. Again, if there's anybody on these airwaves here at KDKA, and I'm going to be a little bold before I go to break. Joanne and DJ, I'll get to you next. There ain't nobody on these airwaves that has had the arc that I've had. Many of the people in their 20s was doing what they're doing right now, and that's not a bad thing. Having a 30, 40-year successful career in the media is not a bad thing. Having a 25, 30-year career in the media is not a bad thing. Being gainfully employed in your 20s, going to graduate school in your 20s, it's not a bad thing. My own daughter did that. Very proud of her. Love her to just pieces. She's about to have her second grandchild. Love those kids and her husband to pieces. But when I was in my 20s, I was cutting lunch meat. I was 60 pounds heavier. I had no focus to go back to college, much less Davidson. My skin was a mess. My hair was a mess. I was a walking mess. People couldn't even recognize me from what I was at Central and Shadyside Academy and Davidson College. If I were locked into what I was at 23 years old, you'd have never met me. You'd have never heard from me. You'd have never known what I could do. I had somebody call in Thursday night and say, Lenny, you couldn't have possibly not been a good public speaker. You were probably that your whole life. No, I didn't want to do public speaking. I couldn't do public speaking. I was afraid to stand up in front of people and open my mouth until I was forced to do it with a bunch of angry senior citizens saying, hey, bud, I need my chipped ham before it starts snowing. And there's 20 people there at the counter. And it's going to snow in 45 minutes. Heck, go, you can even ask my lovely wife of a quarter century. Go ask who I was at Davidson College Part 1. I wasn't articulate. I can cuss like a sailor, though. I was very good at articulating that and conjugating that one special verb. But I couldn't do this. If you locked me in to where I was at 18 and 19 years old, you never meet me. I don't get a chance to do any of the stuff that I've been blessed to do and blessed to do in order to help people. So I am the last person that's trying to throw kids in jail and throw away keys. I believe in redemption stories. I believe in second acts. My whole book, A Venn Diagram of One, talks about second acts everywhere. Mine, people in my family, people in history, people of different backgrounds and faiths. But the people with platforms and power have to build the pathway there. Don't tell me about affordable housing and you're going to stay poor for the next 30 years. Part of the thing with those kids is they don't see anything other than poverty. Nobody shows them anything other than poverty and despair. So I get it. They have to know right from wrong, but daggone it, if you're a leader, show them something different consistently. It ain't just from people coming into the school and giving a nice speech. I do that. You give a nice speech and you have no moral courage, nobody cares. You're speaking for a paycheck, and you're a fraud. We have too many frauds running around here calling themselves leaders. With titles but not guts. We need some people with backbone and guts again making the calls. 866-391-1020. Joanne and DJ, I'm going to get a glass of water. I'm calming down. Mike's going to look at me and say, you can't yell in the microphone. I'm going to say, yes, I can. But we'll do that during a commercial break here on News Radio KDKA.
It's the little things. The information you need. People you know. The little things that make a big difference. The voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020. KDKA.
Don't miss your chance to step up and make a difference in your community. The Highmark Walk for a Healthy Community supports over 150 local health and human service agencies across 6 regions, including Erie, Johnstown, and Pittsburgh. To donate or register for an upcoming walk, log on to walkforahealthycommunity.org. Even if the walk in your region has concluded, you can still donate. 100% of funds raised goes directly to the local nonprofit of your choice. So let's get walking and make a difference in your community. Donate or register today. Donations will be accepted through June 30th.
Success is picking up extra shifts for your family. Now you want to be the boss. Success is getting your foot in the door. Now you want to take the next step. Success looks different to everyone, and University of Maryland Global Campus can help you reach your goals. And there's never been a better time to get started on your future. No application fee if you apply by June 1st. As an accredited state university, UMGC has been transforming lives for over 75 years. With more than 135 undergraduate and graduate degrees and certificates, online and hybrid courses, personalized support, financial resources, and lifetime career services, achieving your dreams is more possible than ever before. Choose the program that's right for your career goals and get started on your next success. No application fee if you apply by June 1st. Learn more at umgc.edu. That's umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Shell.
When you get a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, things get real.
And nobody understands that better than the Parkinson's Foundation. All across the country, we provide resources and support in the fight against Parkinson's, a neurological disease that affects movement.
The Parkinson's Foundation is dedicated to improving care and advancing research towards a cure.
And when you call our helpline, you'll speak to a real person who can help you find the right information. Because while living with Parkinson's can be challenging, there are things you can do to improve your quality of life. So, whether you're newly diagnosed, have been living with Parkinson's for years, or caring for a loved one,
when Parkinson's gets real, find real answers at the Parkinson's Foundation.
Go to parkinson.org or call our helpline at 1-800-4PD-INFO, 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, When you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
SchultzFord.com, 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 SchultzFord.com.
Now, you all done did it. You all done did it. And I'm blaming you all. So I go to commercial break. I leave the studio. I go into the booth where all the magic really happens. And I look at Mike, and Mike goes, "You know you can't be that way on the microphone. This is going to be a short segment." So now I'm on timeout until the top of the hour because it's something you all made me do. I don't even know what to say. I will hang on to Joanne. I will hang on to DJ. I will take those calls after the break. I will try to do my penance with Mike. I don't know how many Hail Marys or Our Fathers I'm going to have to do during the commercial break, but I'm certain there's going to be some Our Fathers and Hail Marys and Glory Bees that I'm going to have to do to get back on his good graces so I can have a little bit more time to talk other than having these little short segments just because, I don't know, I went too long or I said something, and it just, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to need you all, Joanne and DJ, and others at 866-391-1020, to give me grace, allow me to serve my penance, and then I promise you I will go back to the phone lines. I also, and the reason why I got to do the penance is because I got to talk to Mike about Death by Lightning. We said we were going to talk about the second episode, and so I made it a point to go watch it again. He's watched it. I want to talk to him about it because I think it's a good series to see. By the way, part of the reason why it's a good series to see if you have Netflix is because it does center on a dude, Chester Arthur, who did become president, who I did participate in an award-winning documentary in, or of, or was, or part of, whatever the term should be, or the verbiage should be. I was in a documentary talking about Chester Arthur after Garfield died and how he changed from being a career, he was a sludge. He was a curmudgeon. He was part of everything that was wrong with politics until he wasn't. And it kind of highlights the point we're talking about right now. It's always the right time to do what is right. Whether you're a teenager trying to stay out of trouble or an adult trying to help them find the path to prosperity and fulfillment in their lives. So we'll talk about that. I'll pay my penance. I'll go back to the phone lines after the news on News Radio KDKA.
While you sleep, there are people you've never met who are working hard to make your morning. People who get up at ungodly hours to make sure you get the information you want. People who dedicate their lives to make yours better while you sleep. These people come together during the Big K Morning Show with Larry Richert, 5:30 to 10 in the morning, to make sure you have the best news, traffic, and weather to start your day. 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
The Village at St. Barnabas, the perfect place for mom.
Paid advertisement for non-attorney spokesperson. Victory Legal Network is not a law firm. Cases may be referred to participating law firms. Compensation is not guaranteed.
Attention parents. Was your baby born premature and then given Similac or Enfamil brand formula in the hospital? Studies now show that premature infants given cow's milk-based baby formula face a much higher risk of developing necrotizing enterocolitis, or NEC. If you or your loved one had a premature baby and was given one of these baby formulas, you may qualify for significant compensation. Visit govictory44.com now to see if you qualify qualify. A recent jury awarded $60 million in compensation to the family of a child who developed NEC. Families are now taking action. Visit govictory44.com now to see if you qualify for significant compensation. If your baby was given Similac or Enfamil and later diagnosed with NEC, you may qualify for significant compensation, but time is limited. Strict filing deadlines apply, and waiting could mean losing your opportunity for justice. Don't wait. Visit govictory44.com today to see if you qualify. That's govictory44.com.
Paid for by Victory Legal Network.
Winter is here, and Duquesne Light urges you to stay safe outdoors this holiday season. When clearing snow or hanging lights, keep ladders and tools at least 10 feet away from power lines. Never touch down or hanging power lines. Immediately call Duquesne Light. Use outdoor-rated cords and check for damage before plugging in decorations. And if you're using electric snow blowers, keep them dry and plugged into GFCI-protected outlets. Safety starts with you. Learn more at DuquesneLight.com/safety.
Tune in this Sunday morning at 8 for the Coons Cooking Hour with Rob Pratt and the Coons Market team when they discuss favorite grilled foods and who cooks outside at your house. It's the Coons Cooking Hour, presented by Coons Market, your hometown Pittsburgh grocer.
Listen to KDKA Radio on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps.
KDKA and KDKA-FM HD2 Pittsburgh. W261AX Pittsburgh.
Always live on the free Odyssey app. From the Aetna Medicare studios.
Proud to be the voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
From ABC News, I'm Mike Dubusky. Delaney Hall in Newark, New Jersey has been at the center of the latest clashes between immigration enforcement and protesters, with reports of malnutrition, inadequate medical care, and unsanitary living conditions inside that facility. 3 men were taken into custody last night during the latest standoff. New Jersey Attorney General Jennifer Davenport in a news conference says they're trying to tamp down on the violence.
Areas right now have been and are continuing to be swept, and we're continually reassessing as we're able to make sure that once the time comes that it is protected and it is made sure that it is safe.
Still no agreement between the U.S. and Iran as missile attacks rattle the Middle East this weekend.
A U.S. official tells ABC News several U.S. troops and civilian contractors suffered minor injuries from an Iranian missile attack this week in Kuwait. All returned to duty.
ABC's Ian Pannell in Jerusalem. Health authorities say they can't keep up with the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, the head of the World Health Organization, overseeing the opening of a new treatment center in the city of Bunia today.
Everyone should take care of himself or herself and take care of each other as well. By doing that, we can stop this outbreak as soon as possible.
There are more than 900 suspected cases of the virus in the DRC. Officials in Laos confirmed 2 people remain missing in that flooded cave. So far, 5 of the missing miners have escaped and are recovering, but more rain is complicating rescue efforts.
This is monsoon season, and we're told another tropical downpour there has already flooded up the cave again. Now, the divers, though, they are not giving up, even looking for new cave entrances to cover all possibilities of finding them.
ABC News foreign correspondent Britt Clennett reporting from Hong Kong. You're listening to ABC News.
Hot summer days and high energy bills are on the way. Upgrade your home's old leaky windows this month during Window Nation's Buy 4 Get 4 free sale. Yes, half of your new beautiful energy efficient windows free. Plus no money down and no monthly payments or interest for 2 years. Call now 866-200-8670 or windownation.com. In select markets, trust our family of brands, New South Window and ArmorView. That's 866-200-8670 or windownation.com to book a consultation.
I've been telling you all about the Secret War on our cash and the free report you can receive a copy of by contacting Swiss America at 800-289-2646. I'd also like to encourage you to subscribe to their podcast on YouTube. Just search Swiss America Trading. The podcast can provide you a ton of vital information and financial news in the challenging and uncertain times we're in. Subscribe today. Learn more about BRICS, industry leaders, and their market predictions for the future, along with what you might expect to see in terms of precious metal performance in the weeks and months ahead. Message and data rates may apply.
Many of the musical acts who were tapped to play at the Great American State Fair have dropped out. That event was organized by Freedom 250, a group affiliated with the Trump administration, set up to organize events commemorating the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States. Many of the musicians say the event was falsely sold to them as nonpartisan. ABC News senior White House correspondent Selena Wang.
Overnight, the president then floated the idea of replacing the entire event with a Make America Great rally instead. He said to do that instead of, quote, having overpriced singers who nobody wants to hear, whose music is boring, and yet who do nothing but complain.
A new CDC survey says the cigarette smoking rate has dropped to another all-time low last year. ABC's Dave Packer reports.
Only 1 in 11 American adults now say they're current smokers. The rate has been on the decline since the 1960s, when 42% of U.S. adults were lighting up. Cigarette smoking is a risk factor for lung cancer, heart disease, and stroke, and it's long been considered the leading cause of preventable death. Dave Packer, ABC News.
And more trouble in the skies, with a United Airlines flight having to be evacuated this weekend because of a Bluetooth device.
They have security. Everyone's evacuating. Someone decides to name their Bluetooth device a certain four-letter word, so they're evacuating the aircraft.
Air traffic control audio there from ATC.com. That flight headed to Spain from Newark Liberty International Airport. Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
Everyone needs to take care of their mental health, even running back Bijan Robinson.
When I'm on the field and feeling the pressure, I usually just take a deep breath. When I'm just breathing and seeing what's in front of me, everything just slows down. It just makes me feel great before I run the play.
Just like Bijan, we all need a strong mental game on and off the field. Make a game plan for your mental health at loveyourmindplaybook.org.
Love your mind.
Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation, the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation, and the Ad Council.
The KDKA AccuWeather forecast is brought to you by JP Roofing and Siding, Pittsburgh's #1 Platinum Preferred Roofing Replacement Contractor. Call 412-829-7711.
Mostly sunny and beautiful out there for this afternoon. The high up to 76, and then partly cloudy tonight, the low 48. Comfortable again for tomorrow. Sunny to partly cloudy I-75. Mostly sunny Tuesday. Get up into the mid-70s. For AccuWeather, I'm John Feerick, 100.1 FM and AM 1020, KDKA.
Now, this is what I was talking about. Exactly what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. When I did both sides of the fence, I touched upon this issue on the podcast with Derek and Jen. Again, Derek McCants and Jennifer McIntyre, both sides of the fence. Check out the podcast, Apple Podcasts, and elsewhere where you can download your podcast. I will be on an upcoming episode then. But in a long-form interview, you can dive into these topics in a very, it's a conversation. So you can be, it's a platform where it's a lot easier to be eloquent. It's a lot easier to talk through the issue with a constant eye on problem solving. Whereas talk radio, especially if you call into 866-391-1020, it's very reactive, responsive to what you all say, which I welcome, of course. I'm not saying don't do that, but what I'm saying is, it's going to prompt something different. For example, when Phil calls in, and Phil, by the way, I sent you an email already to let you know that I wrote you, that I got your message. Write me back. We'll set something up. It's very responsive and reactive. Therefore, if you say something like, these kids don't understand right from wrong, which Phil did, and because they don't have a moral compass, they don't know not to jump people at Whole Foods, my response is going to be, I'm not buying that. I'm just going to go into it right then and there. Whereas in a long-form interview, you can break down the sociological issues getting there. That's all I wanted to say. 866-391-1020. Going to the phone lines. Joanne in Point Breeze. Going once. Going twice. Not there. Call back. DJ in New Kensington. You're on KDKA. Going once. Going twice. It might be me. It might be you. Or, as they say in a breakup, it isn't you, it's me. Either way, call back. Love to talk to you. And look, I apologize for being a little fired up about this one. One, because I think it's preventable. Two, again, I think it leads to bad public policy because if you're not balanced, the pendulum swings and it's a violent rocking back and forth. It's not a swinging of momentum that's natural and organic. You know, people know that I am close to Leon Ford. But the incidences with Leon Ford and Jordan Miles were because of policies with the Pittsburgh police that led to what they used to call the jump out boys, where they thought they were following a suspect, they were plain clothes, and they would just kind of jump out of the blue. That's what happened to Jordan Miles, according to the news reports. And after getting beat down and hair pulled out of his scalp and everything else, oh, it's the kid that goes to Kappa. My bad. Leon Ford, being told repeatedly he's Lamont Ford. Repeatedly, you are Lamont Ford. I am Leon Ford. Here's my ID. Here's my registration. Here's my insurance. Everything's valid. If I ran a stop sign, okay, give me my ticket and let me go about my way. No, you're Lamont Ford. No, you're Lamont Ford. No, you're Lamont Ford. We'll violate our own policies. And it led to what it led to. That's an overreaction because the front end of it, which goes all the way back to the gang spike in the 1990s, was dealt with incorrectly. Or one could even make the case that the economic decline of working class communities such as Homewood Brushton that was happening in the 1980s wasn't dealt with appropriately. It was dealt with you know how those people are. And when you deal with it in that way, and it's ignored for years, you get what you get in the 90s. And if you overreact the other way, you get the school to prison pipeline and the over-policing and the crackdown, the overcharging, the over-sentencing that we saw in the 90s and going into the 2000s. Now the pendulum for a period of time is going the other way. Well, you can steal $74.99 worth of stuff from your local convenience store. And if you do that, we'll turn a blind eye, proverbially speaking, and pretty much literally. We've seen this in California. We've seen it in other places. The pendulum is coming back. It's coming back to a point of time where there's going to be overcharging again. There's going to be mass incarceration again. And if those two things come back the way they did before, you're going to destroy 1 to 3 communities. Not 1 to 3 communities. You're going to destroy many communities for 1 to 3 generations. That's the problem. And unlike the 90s, and people forget, when we had this happen, Mexico wasn't where it was. NAFTA just started. Soviet Union had just fallen, which meant that Russia was not really a player on the global scene. Germany had just reunited. Germany and the EU were not really players on the geoeconomic scene. China in the 90s was not really an economic force on the scene. They may have been making your Nikes, but they weren't doing what they're doing now. The corporate espionage, that hadn't even really taken off until 2000. So from a national sovereignty standpoint, if you mess around and find out what happens to America globally If you take 1 to 3 generations out of the mix again, you don't allow them to raise up doctors and lawyers. You don't allow them to raise up business people. You don't allow them to raise up homeowners, 2-parent households. Give people a chance to have second acts, third acts. You know, the same knuckleheads that have kids at 23, 24 years old and don't get married, I can tell you Gen Xers have nothing but a whole bunch of blended families. Little bit of everywhere. You know what those folks did? They found their way with a second act. If you lock them up by overcharging them, by being too anxious and aggressive with how you're going to reinforce criminal justice, you run the risk of America just not being America anymore globally. You couple that with everything else that's been going on, the tariffs, the tone, the wars, the extra constitutional behavior we're seeing internationally and domestically. The America you grew up with, Gen Xers and baby boomers, won't exist anymore. Now, I'm not saying this is the crucible of it all, but I am going to say this is significant. This is not something to overlook or ignore. So don't do it. The way we approach this has to be responsive, but tempered, proactive, and pragmatic. You got to allow these kids the opportunity to pick a better path. Now, if they choose not to, and there are some kids, look, I remember doing jail ministry in North Carolina. I did some of this stuff in Chicago, more in North Carolina than Chicago. But I remember kids telling me, I just like this lifestyle. I like having money in my pocket. I'm willing to take the risk. Well, I can try to convince you, but if you're really willing to take the risk, I got to send you away for a second. I don't want to, prefer not to. But I got to send you away before you kill somebody. Or somebody's, plural. Now, if you're willing to make another choice, then we start working on plans to get you a real education. Real pathways to employment. Real pathways to own your home. Build generational wealth. Have community safety. And then that leans away from the youth, that leans more towards the adults in power. But, and I've said it multiple times, there is a social contract that even a 16-year-old can live up to, even an 18-year-old can live up to, even a 12-year-old can live up to, even a 9-year-old can live up to. There are social contracts that we engage in at every step of our life. And I'm not inclined to let them walk away from their obligation of the social contracts that we're all engaged in. Now, I don't want them taking on more than they're supposed to. They're not adults. They're 15. Their brains are not fully formed for another 10 years. I'm aware of that, especially the boys. I'm aware of that. But they know enough to know what their terms of the social contract is and how to live up to those terms. And I'm not willing to take that off the table just because. 866-391-1020. After the news at the bottom of the hour, I am going to get into Death by Lightning because I think it's a fascinating series. I like talking it's a little bit of politics, but also history as well. So Mike's going to help me do that at the bottom of the hour. In the meanwhile, you still got a little bit more time. 866-391-1020. Call in. I'll take your phone calls until the bottom of the hour here on News Radio KDKA.
When you need to talk, we're here for you. Always have been. News Radio KDKA.
When you get a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, things get real.
And nobody understands that better than the Parkinson's Foundation. All across the country, we provide resources and support in the fight against Parkinson's, a neurological disease that affects movement.
The Parkinson's Foundation is dedicated to improving care and advancing research towards a cure.
And when you call our helpline, you'll speak to a real person who can help you find the right information. Because while living with Parkinson's can be challenging, there are things you can do to improve your quality of life. So, whether you're newly diagnosed, have been living with Parkinson's for years, or caring for a loved one,
When Parkinson's gets real, find real answers at the Parkinson's Foundation.
go to parkinson.org or call our helpline at 1-800-4PD-INFO, 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
Ready to start thinking like Wall Street without leaving Main Street? Tune in Sunday mornings at 6:30 for a slice of advice with Kelton Burgess, right here on the Voice of Pittsburgh, 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
Listen to KDKA Radio on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps.
All right, going back to the phone lines. Joanne loves calling in here so much, she literally called in twice. And I don't mean like twice in a row. I mean like on two different phone lines. And then she hung up for one because she was using her buy one, get one coupon the wrong way. But we'll take her anyway. Joanne in Point Breeze. You're on KDK.
Hey, Lynn, it's not me. This happened last week, too. They cut me off. They cut me off twice.
Nah, something happened with the technology. Mike's never going to cut you off. I know
Right.
I do know.
Not Mike. Not Mike. Because he would put me on. I'm telling you, this happened last week, and I'm thinking, what is going on? Are they doing this to everybody?
I'm going to tell you that, technology is a funny thing when you do radio shows and the system that it comes in.
So I was just surprised that I got cut off last week, too.
No, just give us grace. I promise you nobody's trying to cut you off, especially me.
Okay. First, last week I thought it was the mega people. But anyway, I just don't think if people put their heads in the sand about the history of this country. There was only one channel that talked about the little girl, that integration down in South somewhere, and her mom went in, and they had mainly women and men. After this little girl hollering and screaming, and the little girl, there was one station that had it, one TV station. And she was just wondering, what was this all about? And then when she got into the classroom was empty, and she said she thought her mother had brought her to school too early. And come to find out, when the kids finally come in there, she realized what was happening. They didn't want her to be in that class or in the school. And it wasn't the kids, it was the parents, because only the color of her skin.
Joanne, I'm gonna share something with you, and I don't know if you've had an opportunity to pre-order the book, but if you are inclined to buy my book, I will tell you that a portion of the book talks about how my mother, the late Carol McAllister, literally was a chronological peer to all of those little girls across the country, including a friend of ours that went to Davidson, her mother, who helped integrate Charlotte Mecklenburg schools. They were all the same age. And so, when I talk about my mom in the book, I bring up the point that, okay, she was a black woman going through this in Pittsburgh in the 1950s. And black girls were going through this in Arkansas, this in Charlotte, this in this city, this in that city. The young lady whose parents were the center of Brown versus Board, they are all the same age. And so when you start thinking about how young people are going through that type of trauma and how we haven't quite healed from it yet, and then you have people that mess with the history and the emotions around the history just enough to win their elections, but pull us in the wrong direction, you have what you have. And it has residual impacts and effects on subsequent generations. And those are public policy impacts that people, to your point, don't necessarily bring up on a regular basis. They just go, how do we get here? And it's like, well, it's all tied together. They're still human beings, and it's all tied together.
You're absolutely right. But the thing that bothers me, and I'll go around what's going on with these young kids nowadays, there's no reason why they used to have a juvenile court, some kind of juvenile facility for these children to be put into and talk to and try to educate what's going on. And I think that if these young children, it's happening in the white neighborhoods, but not like young men of color, that they have to carry guns where they're getting around, because all of them have guns. Not all of them, but many of them have guns, and they're afraid that if I don't have a gun, I won't be able to protect ourselves. Now, why in the world, if these young men of color, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen with other ethnic groups, but if they were going and shooting and fighting like they are, and these people did not look like them, you better believe they would have that facility. They would have enough police. They would not be acting like this. So I don't care what anybody...
I don't know, Joanne. And the reason why I say I don't know is because our country has started dividing on socioeconomic lines again and on partisan lines. So I do think that there are certain segments of this country that there are people from the higher echelons of the socioeconomic ladder that look down on anybody that doesn't have money, including poor whites. I mean, you think about how people talk about white people in West Virginia, white people in Kentucky, white people in the Deep South. They don't talk about them as Americans. They look down on them as they use the WT term, which I hate. But they do that, and they feel justified in doing it. And they make it seem as though they're not going to ever get ahead in life either. They see them as disposable. And although it doesn't come with the same racial connotations that lock our kids into certain places, they do that to those kids as well. This is something that is a human scourge that does also have a racial element to it.
I understand that, but you do not hear, or either the television cameras are not out there when they're shooting each other, and like they're doing with these young children who are just there's rules and regulations for everybody, except, and maybe they're watching the president, that they didn't stop him, and he keeps on and on and on doing what he cares to do, whether it's a positive thing for this country or it's a positive thing for him. So it's just a crazy thing. And as I said, I think if these young men were just randomly going after anybody and everybody, there instances, they would have a juvenile facility for them.
And Joanna, I appreciate your call. I got to get a break. Again, I disagree with that because they are wilding out in downtown Pittsburgh. They're wilding out in downtown Pittsburgh. They're wilding out in Market Square. They're wilding out in different areas where more of the population goes. Again, they're not wilding out at Lenny's Corner Store in East Liberty. They were wilding out at Whole Foods, which is a muckety-muck store. You all don't think it is, but it is. Where you can buy bread at one place for $2 or $3 or $3.50. You know how bread's going up these days. You can go get it at Whole Foods is a little bit higher than that. So they are doing that there. And the concern is they've been allowed to do that. Now it's catching high profile again. and the retribution's going to be great. And it's going to look like the 90s, and it's going to damage 1 to 3 generations in communities, in some regards, unnecessarily. One, because there's going to be some overcharging, and number two, because it was allowed to get to this point of time, which led to people overreacting, which led to the overcharging and the hyper-incarceration that might be coming again. That might have those unintended consequences. George, I'll get to you after the break. Then I am getting to Death to Lightning. I'm getting to the news first here on News Radio KDKA.
Pittsburgh, we've got a problem. Home care is in crisis and there aren't enough caregivers to meet the demand. So if you've got a loved one with Medicaid and needs care, don't wait. Freedom Care was built for this moment. We help you get care at home from someone you already trust, a family member or friend who can get paid to help with everyday needs like meals, medication, bathing, and mobility. If you have Medicaid, it's 100% free to you. No waiting lists, just real care from your people right now. Freedom Care handles it all, training, payroll, and support, so you can stay safe and comfortable at home, and your caregiver gets paid after every shift guaranteed. With 97% satisfaction and over 150 million hours of care delivered, Pittsburgh families are already making the switch to care at home. Take care of your own and get paid with Freedom Care. Call 412-844-5990. That's 412-844-5990. Call now, 412-844-5990. 412-844-5990.
Colin Dunlap on KDKA.
If you go to a diner and they have a glass Heinz bottle, you've already psychologically decided in your brain that that ketchup tastes absolutely better than any ketchup that comes out and squeezes like out of a plastic bottle.
Weekdays 2 to 6 on the Voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020. KDKA.
Now that I'm retired, I'm worried about making ends meet. Food, medicine, and rent cost more every day. And that's why I used benefitscheckup.org. It connected me to an extra $1,000 a month. Benefitscheckup.org is a free service from the National Council on Aging. In a few clicks, older adults like me can see if they might qualify for money-saving programs. If you're on a fixed income, benefitscheckup.org might help you too. For free. Visit today.
Supported by the U.S. Administration for Community Living.
From the Aetna Medicare Studios.
Proud to be the voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
ABC News, I'm Mike Dubusky. State police in New Jersey last night arrested 3 people outside Delaney Hall, the migrant detention facility that's been at the center of violent clashes with ICE officials. Detainees there describe inhumane conditions and insufficient medical care. New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill.
Having worked with New Jersey State Police and local law enforcement, I know how well trained they are, the best in the nation. I trust them to follow our Constitution. I knew it would be better to have them handle the situation rather than ICE.
The Department of Homeland Security says family visitation hours resumed today at Delaney Hall, and ICE has denied that detainees there are conducting a hunger strike. As tensions continue to flare in the Middle East, there's still no word on a potential short-term peace deal between the U.S. and Iran, and WHO officials overseeing the opening of a new Ebola treatment facility in the Democratic Republic of the Congo today. This is ABC News.
Life is all about attitude and perspective. The old saying is the glass half full or half empty. Life will always throw curveballs, so how do we survive and actually thrive? This is Dr. Shufo from the Weight Loss and Wellness Center. Yes, I will get the weight off of you. That's a given. But I also find the root of the eating, and that's always emotional. It's actually weight loss therapy, and I know it works. People lose weight, feel better, and have lifelong tools. I want to help you. I really do. Call me 1-800-900-THIN.
By texting 64000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Host. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethost.com/terms.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and the world's #1 expandable hose has gone ballistic. The brand new Pocket Hose Ballistic is here, and it's the hose I reach for every time. This brand new anti-burst sleeve uses an extraordinary new liquid crystal polymer used in bulletproof vests, tough enough to handle anything your outdoor tasks throw its way. And that's not all. The Pocket Hose Ballistic comes with even more upgrades like thicker washers that resist leaks and an enhanced UV coating so your hose looks brand new year after year. What could be better than that? How about not one, but 2 free gifts with your purchase? For a limited time, when you purchase a new Pocket Hose Ballistic, you'll get a free 360-degree rotating pocket pivot and a free thumb drive nozzle. Just text SUMMER to 64,000. That's SUMMER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. That's SUMMER to 64,000.
Being diagnosed with leukemia, lymphoma, myeloma, or one of over 100 other types of blood cancer makes people want more time to do the things they love. That means more time to be artists, prom dates, world travelers, and moms. We are Blood Cancer United, the world's leading organization focused solely on blood cancer research, support, and advocacy. We do the most for more people with blood cancer, so people with blood cancer can do more of whatever they want. Blood Cancer United. Join us at bloodcancerunited.org.
Carpal tunnel syndrome, heart failure that doesn't improve with common medicines. These are some signs and symptoms associated with ATTR-CM, or the cardiomyopathy of ATTR amyloidosis, a serious heart condition with symptoms that get worse over time. Amvuttra, vutrisiran, is a prescription medicine given by a healthcare provider that treats ATTR-CM in adults to reduce heart-related death, hospital stays, and urgent visits. In a clinical study, Amvuttra was proven to help people live longer and have fewer heart-related hospital stays and urgent visits over 3 years compared to placebo. Amvuttra lowers the amount of vitamin A in your blood, which can affect vision. Other side effects include pain in the arms or legs, pain in the joints, and shortness of breath. These are not all the possible side effects of Amvuttra. For prescribing information, call 1-833-256-2748 or learn more at amvuttra.com. Ask your doctor about Amvuttra for ATTR-CM.
Everyone needs to take care of their mental health, even running back Bijan Robinson.
When I'm on the field and feeling the pressure, I usually just take a deep breath. When I'm just breathing and seeing what's in front of me, everything just slows down. It just makes me feel great before I run the play.
Just like Bijan, we all need a strong mental game on and off the field. Make a game plan for your mental health at loveyourmindplaybook.org.
Love your mind.
Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation, the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation, and the Ad Council.
The KDKA AccuWeather forecast is brought to you by JP Roofing and Siding, Pittsburgh's #1 Platinum Preferred Roofing Replacement Contractor. Call 412-829-7711.
Nice finish to the month of May. Mostly sunny this afternoon. I-76, partly cloudy tonight, low 48. Sunny to partly cloudy tomorrow. I-75, mostly sunny, still dry Tuesday, up to 75. For AccuWeather, I'm meteorologist John Feerick, 100.1 FM and AM 1020, KDKA.
All right, here we go. Be back with you on Monday, and it'll be a great one. Enjoy the weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday. Colin Dunlap right here, KDKA, 2 to 6.
Going back to the phone lines now that I ate my throat lozenger. 866-391-1020. George and Clarendon, you're on KDKA. How are you?
Hey, Lenny, what's up, man? Good show Thursday night. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I can't say I disagree with anybody. It was just a lot. You're a teacher by heart, professor by heart. You know what it was? It was, what's the word we used to use in teaching? Brainstorming, huh? Would you call that a brainstorming session?
It was a brainstorming session, and it was people trying to, the truth of the matter is there is how you feel from the heart. There is how you have to think about it with your brain, and then there's what you do with the work of your hands to get stuff done. And, more often than not, George, as you well know, talk radio is usually a heart-driven industry that tries to every now and then use your head. But more often than not, people in the media don't have to worry about doing anything with their hands. They don't have to worry about building anything. They can just drive emotions and bring an idea every now and then. But they don't have to worry about, okay, how does this build anything? Now, that's a little different with me, I would say, because I like to think that because of my background in public policy, being a teacher and a professor at heart, being in the community, that I'm not just going to, pontificate on things and just kind of shrug my shoulders and walk away and say, I'll see you tomorrow. Some people do that. I'm not pointing fingers here. I'm just saying I've been in the media game for 20 years between radio and television, and people do that. And I try not to do that.
Well, I've known you since probably around 12, maybe 11 or 12 or 13. I was still doing lesson plans, listening to you on Sundays around now. And I worked at a restaurant for many years. I worked for Chili's. West Mifflin, I loved it. I worked as a manager before I taught, and I worked as a waiter. So I was always in a pulse of what was going on there, too. Even like those with military IDs. We really had a proof. Everybody called everyone. Who were they voting for president? That's what kind of started swaying me conservative in the early to mid-2000s, like 2004. That's when I first started voting Republican. And I had consternations on that. I don't think I voted for Bush, no, because I voted for Clinton twice, as far as the father Bush. But I was starting to see that point of view a little more, see as steelworkers. I don't know where your dad stood in all this, and if he was a steelworker then, but we weren't fond of Reagan in 80 nor 84. Even though some steelworkers
he was working
for him. My parents voted for him in 80.
He was working for Honeywell back then. So the employer that my dad was working for throughout my whole childhood was Honeywell. He went to Clairton Works.
What was that, Forest Hills?
The irony, because God has a sense of humor and trail magic. It basically is where I'm broadcasting from right now. I was in these buildings as a kid. Yeah. So when I first came up here to work here at News Radio KDKA back in, I think my first broadcast was March 21st of 2014. In fact, I know it was. It was 6 months after I come back to Pittsburgh exactly. It was March 21st, 2014. And when I got the address as to where we'd be broadcasting from, I just chuckled and said, "Oh, yeah, okay, God, I see you." Yeah, little bit of trail magic, a little bit of God wink. I got it. I just chuckled to myself and said, "Okay."
Yeah, you've had some circles, huh?
Yes,
you've
indeed.
had a lot of Venn diagrams.
Exactly.
You know what I wanted to bring up? Do you recall, and I think there was about almost 20 years between us. I was born in 56. I know you were born January 13th. I always forget the year.
72.
Is that around our
72.
Age 72. Okay, you were born when I was in sophomore. Yeah, you were born when I was a sophomore. That was an interesting time. We had people just about coming back from Vietnam. I was still on, though. And I was young, still about 14, 15. Do you remember a little later, the era before crack, but when crack did hit the streets? And the reason I bring it up, I was working for Allegheny County Housing in 1986. Almost right now, we have the same days and dates, I'm pretty sure, as 86. I got hired around June 8th or 9th, and we were working in some of the projects in the Keys Rocks, but every week we worked in a different project. And I was in the one in Braddock, as a lot of people say there, and Mapleview, and there was a nunnery, I think, called Good Shepherd. That sounds familiar, right on the main drag.
Yeah, they used to have a church. They may still have a church.
Right.
I think they used to have a grade school down there too. But yes, I'm very familiar with Good Shepherd. It used to be right by the post office down there.
Yeah, well, I was cutting that flat area, and it was really hot. About third week of June, it was our third assignment, and a boy was in the woods. And I guess he was just staying cold. He was calling me, goes, "Hey, mister. Hey, mister." And I had the motor running, rotary motor. I'm pushing it, getting a nice sweat. And he's calling me. Someone's calling me. So I turn the motor off. I'm looking around like a revelation. And here he came out. We started talking. And he was about 16, and he started telling me about crack cocaine. And this was 86. And what I knew about it was what I read the year before. That's myself and a lot of others were exiled from the mills were down. I was down in New York, and that's when the Cocaine Wars Time magazine come out. It was always on the background of Geraldo Rivera, or whoever was talking about cocaine, how it was really taking over and where it was coming in. And then they started talking about a very affordable version of it, not just a Hollywood bowl of it. And that's when they were getting to crack cocaine. And this kid was telling me so much. And I told him where I was from originally. And what he told me was like, it just mapped out so much. And I didn't really go back to school to teach. Well, 2 years later, I was back in school. That's right. Because a lot of the guys told me, I worked with a lot of Italian guys. They said, "Why don't you go to teach? The kids will follow you around like a Pied Piper." And that's kind of how it was. But what this boy was starting to tell me about, and then the violence and everything that kind of come with it, that has been hard to beat. Now, I know gangs come and gone since the 90s, just from graffiti. I never saw it organized. I remember reading things in the magazine.
Hold. If I may, George, let me put a little asterisk on that little footnote to your comment. Gangs have been around since the late 19th century, early 20th century, they just look different. Those that constitute these gangs have changed. But we have had gangs in western Pennsylvania since the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they were here in Pittsburgh, they were in Youngstown, they were in Erie, they were in Chicago, they were in Cleveland. So it's very interesting because people say, yeah, we've had gangs, and when the gangs came from Los Angeles, I'm like, yo, what do you think those mafia folks were? They were gangsters, with the root word
now, when I
being
think
gang.
Of them, I think older folks. Now they had the old. I used to see the words field lieutenant and all that. And when you were born in '72, that was when The Godfather came out. Everyone that was part Italian wanted to be part of that kind of stock. Even though my parents said, "Hey, we had relatives that lived at Larimer Avenue and made them change their last name." They didn't want that. But that was a lot of us view that a little different. I think when I say gangs, I'm thinking maybe younger. And I guess what I'm really going after is the commodity. It wasn't just the fellowship and all that, even though that's what they said. Gangs come in sociologically to fill the void of maybe that, to give a kid some substance, self-esteem. But the commodity, once it got to be crack, it got to be really hardcore. And that's just how I still generalize it as such. I could be wrong, but I don't think.
No.
Even in The Godfather, when they talked about bringing heroin in because all the other families were doing it, the heroes, the Corleones, well, some wanted to do it. The younger kids wanted to do it. Marlon Brando did not want to do it just because he said we'd lose our power from the judges and the people we have. Now, I looked at towns, I looked at graffiti, and it come out of nowhere in the late 80s when I was back in school through the 90s, and I was delivering pizza, so I was always everywhere, man.
Yeah.
And then by the time 92 on, they kind of sequestered me to working in a restaurant for about 30 years at night, and either being in school and or teaching in the daytime. But when I was fleet of foot for about 5, 6, 7 years, I've seen a lot of things come and go, and that does happen anywhere, but it did. It did because a lot of these towns were still going down. They hadn't bottomed out yet. And I thought at one point they did, and I still wonder because you hear so much about, you heard so much about Nippon Steel till 52 weeks and 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Now you've heard nothing about it.
Yeah, George, I appreciate it. It's a fantastic call, and you're right. I mean, the bottom line is when the drug trade became very, very profitable, that's when the violence went through the roof. Again, people forget about the Italian gangs and the Irish gangs and the Chinese gangs, but the violence went through the roof in hot spots around the country when alcohol was illegal and people wanted their hands on it. There was a market and a law on the way that was blocking people from being able to get the commodity they wanted. Created avenues, high risk, high reward. Easy entryway in, no way out. Violence. So, unfortunately, that history lesson just simply repeated itself. But you're on point with that. Speaking of history, I'm going to get to Mike after the break. I do want to talk about death by lightning. I'm going to have my favorite pastor, who was supposed to come on Thursday night, but we didn't get a chance because we were talking about PPS. So I'm going to bring him on at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. Stick around. It's Lenny McAllister. It's going to be Mike. It's going to be Death by Lightning. But it's going to be after the break on News Radio KDKA.
Every Tuesday morning at 7:20, listen for Inside Independence Health, a look at all things healthcare with the experts from Independence Health System. It's brought to you by Independence Health System. Expert care here.
If you or anyone you care about is facing a family legal matter, call Cordell and Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL or visit CordellCordell.com to schedule your consultation.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. Divorce touches all areas of your life: your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on. Visit CordellCordell.com to schedule your consultation.
If you or anyone you care about is facing divorce, contact Cordell and Cordell today. With over 100,000 clients served, we understand the challenges you're facing on a personal level. Call Cordell and Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL. That's 1-855-GET-LEGAL. Pittsburgh and Cranberry Township. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the
It's Spruce, the weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people, pets, and bees. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Spruce, pet friendly, weed deadly. Find wherever weed killers are sold.
My dad passed away unexpectedly. Of course, it was awful in every way, but we are very grateful that he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still able to provide for us. And that's why I have life insurance for my family. Ethos.com. They make it fast and easy to get covered. It's 100% online. You get a quote in seconds, and you can apply in minutes. You get covered the same day.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/protect. That's ethos.com/protect. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application.
SchultzFord.com. 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 SchultzFord.com.
The voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020. KDKA.
All right, Mike, you had homework. Did you watch episode 2 of Death by Lightning?
I did.
What'd you think?
I think it gives a lot of backstory to the party of Garfield and Arthur and how it comes together during that presidential election, and also dives deeper into Garfield as a human, Arthur as a human, and the people surrounded by those, and how his would-be assassin Guteau.
You mean Gasteau, not Guteau. It's not
Gusteau.
It's Gusteau. Yes, exactly.
How he becomes disillusioned and misguided.
Do you think it was better than episode 1? So for people that are out there, Death by Lightning is a 4-episode series that chronicles the rapid rise in assassination of James Garfield, our 20th president of the United States. It's well regarded. Mike brought up last week that he saw episode 1, didn't see episode 2. We gave him homework because that's what we do here. And so Mike, because he's an honor student, he watched the rest of the episodes, but because I'm a talk show host, I'm going to milk this for the next 2 weeks. So we're only talking about episode 2, so it gives you a chance to catch up. Which episode did you like better? I won't say which one was better. I'm going to say which one did you like better, 1 or 2, and why? Tell me why.
2, because it goes deeper into Arthur, which he was also the next president, and his backstory, how it just wasn't pleasant. He was a curmudgeon, like just he didn't play by the rules. But at the same time, we see how Garfield had to compromise his beliefs, his morals, to gain the support of the entire party and the funds so that they could possibly win this upcoming election.
So I'm going to throw a little trivia out there for everybody. So one of the people highlighted in the series is James Blaine, who's a senator that also ran for president, lost, but was influential in the party, Republican Party. Now, people will say, why do I care? Do you know why they should care, Mike?
Because he becomes one of Garfield's key people.
That's number one.
Yep.
But the tie to modern times is this. Blaine introduced a policy that it stayed on the books for years called the Blaine Amendment. Do you know what the Blaine Amendment is? I know you're a very good historian. Do you know what that amendment is?
I know only bits and parts of it, but I don't remember the full gist of it.
I will give you the gist because, the muckety mucks that listen to us, they're smarter than us, so I'm not going to get too far in the weeds with them. But long and short of it, the Blaine Amendment was a policy that disallowed public funds to be spent on Catholic schools and Catholic institutions because they used that as the firewall between church and state. Well, the U.S. Supreme Court, and this goes into Black Forrest Gump again, by the way, Mike, and those of you listening out there, the Blaine Amendment was struck down in a case that involved the state of Montana's Department of Revenue. I think it was Mendoza. I'm forgetting the plaintiff's first name. But it was like
Espinosa?
Espinosa versus, see, this is why we love him. Espinosa versus State of Montana Department of Revenue. And it was basically a school choice case that went all the way to the Supreme Court that challenged the Blaine Amendment in that state as to whether or not funding could be given to families that were already going to go towards monies that were already going to be going towards education. Could they then be given to families that wanted to use that for education at a Christian or religious affiliated school? Now, Mike, I'm not going to give you any clues, but do you know somebody that was in a courtroom when that case was argued in oral arguments? Not giving clues.
I would like you to fill it in.
So I had a chance to do that, right? And it was really, really cool. Again, Black Forest Gump. Yeah. It was one of the last cases that the late Ruth Ginsburg argued from the bench. You can tell that she needed to retire at that moment. I think this is in like 2017 or 18, somewhere in there. Yeah, I think it was 18 or 19, actually. That's number one. Number two, funny story. So we're standing in line. So when you go to the Supreme Court, there's a long line, depending on the case, where you have to stand in line for hours at a time. Now, there are these people that you can pay, Mike. Little dirty secret behind the scenes, everybody. That you can literally pay somebody to stand in line for you. And they'll stand in line for you overnight, and then you can show up and you exchange places in line because you have this receipt, and then you can get into the courtroom because it's first come, first serve. Well, in line, I'm standing with somebody that's a pro-choice advocate, all right? I know this is not death by lightning. Give me grace for just a second. We're standing beside somebody that is not that. So it's me and my buddy. We're standing in line, school choice advocates. We're there working together with Commonwealth Foundation. We go in. We're talking to this lady in line. We've been waiting in line for like a couple of hours, last little bit before we can go in. We're talking about how excited we are because we just know that this case is going to be knocked down because we've already counted the votes. Mike, where was she from? Yeah, you said it right. She was from the state of Montana's Department of Revenue. And so she was kind to us until we told her where we were from, and then suddenly the conversation just cut off. It was awkward for the last 45 minutes before we got into the courtroom. So anywho, I bring that up for you listeners out there because you might sit there and hear these names and be like, why do I care about this? Why do I care about that? Well, the senator that's one of the main characters throughout all 4 episodes is a guy who, an amendment that was named after him, just got struck down not that long ago. History might seem like it's a whole long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, even though that wasn't history. That was literally just science fiction. Mm-hmm. But it does relate. So let me ask you this as a historian. Do you think it was very historically based, or did you feel like it was very fictionalized? It was like, it's a nice story, but this isn't really what I think it should be.
In certain aspects, I do think it's historically based for the most part. I think that's one of those episodes and films, like, I think it is based. At the same time, though, it is also drawn out and over-dramatized to that extent. We see James Blaine and that amendment, but overall, for those of you who don't know, that probably costed him the election as president before.
Yep.
Which, some could say it could be overstated or not, but, I think that was the main reason why he lost the election. But that case that we see that just had the Espinoza case, that was not long ago. That was 2020.
Was it 2020? Was it before the pandemic?
I know it was in 2020. I don't know if it was before the pandemic.
Oh, I can tell you it was before the pandemic because we were standing in line with no masks. I got pictures of that. That's what made me think it was 2019. If it was 2020, it must have been like January of 2020.
Early February.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is I'm going to go to break. I know that the Double Doctor is coming on after the news, but I want to continue this conversation a little bit more because you all got homework. Now you got to watch 2 episodes, and Mike and I are going to break down episode 3, but next week, not this week. In the meanwhile, we're going to news now that we're coming back, and then we'll go to the Double Doctor here on News Radio, KDKA.
While you sleep, There are people you've never met who are working hard to make your morning. People who get up at ungodly hours to make sure you get the information you want. People who dedicate their lives to make yours better while you sleep. These people come together during the Big K Morning Show with Larry Richert, 5:30 to 10 in the morning, to make sure you have the best news, traffic, and weather to start your day. 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
Join Beth Andrews for the Net Worth Financial Hour Saturdays at 1 to get the news and information you need to make your retirement dream a reality. That's the Net Worth Financial Hour with Beth Andrews, Saturdays at 1. Net Worth Advisors, LLC is a registered investment advisor.
Everyone needs to take care of their mental health, even running back Bijan Robinson.
When I'm on the field and feeling the pressure, I usually just take a deep breath. When I'm just breathing and seeing what's in front of me, everything just slows down. It just makes me feel great before I run the play.
Just like Bijan, we all need a strong mental game on and off the field. Make a game plan for your mental health at loveyourmindplaybook.org.
Love your mind.
Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation, the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation, and the Ad Council.
100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA, covered by JP Roofing and Siding, Pittsburgh's #1 platinum roofing company.
Ms. Fernandez, what are those tiny things?
Those are what we call amoebas. You can only see them through a microscope.
Wow.
Today's students are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators. But right now, there's a funding crisis in public schools. Millions of kids go to schools that don't have funding for books, computers, and so much more just because of where they live. You can help change that. Donors Choose is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You choose which supplies to support. You could provide first graders with pencils and paper, or other students with their first chapter books, help a music class get a guitar.
You could even supply a classroom like mine with a science project. But what you're really giving is the moment that sparks a brighter tomorrow.
To learn more, please visit DonorsChoose.org. That's DonorsChoose.org. Choose students. Shape the future.
Listen to KDKA Radio on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps.
KDKA and KDKA-FM HD2 Pittsburgh. W261AX Pittsburgh.
Always live on the free Odyssey app. From the Aetna Medicare studios.
Proud to be the voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
I'm Mike Dubusky. With still no word from President Trump on whether the ceasefire with Iran will be extended, the administration is now downplaying the effects of the war on the American economy. Kevin Hassett, director of the White House National Economic Council, speaking with Jonathan Karl on ABC's This Week earlier today.
Are you saying the Americans are not hurting? I mean, we're hearing that not just, a whole bunch of different economic indicators, but just talking to people. I mean, people seem anxious and uneasy about the economy, don't they?
Well, look, in the end, people look at their wallets and they decide how to vote. And if they look at their wallets and look at how much money they have after, the increase in prices, they're going to find that they have a lot more money.
Meanwhile, President Trump is now floating the idea of a Make America Great Again rally in place of a Freedom 250 event that's seen a number of musical acts drop out in recent days.
The majority of musicians slated for the Freedom 250 State Fair, a Trump-backed event, are now pulling out. Several of the artists said they weren't filled in on the event. They were misled about the nature of it. One of them even said they were surprised to see their name on the list. Those who are ditching the event include Martina McBride, Brett Michaels, Young MC, and the Commodores.
ABC News senior White House correspondent Selena Wang. Freedom 250 is affiliated with a task force President Trump set up to organize events surrounding the 250th anniversary of the U.S.'s founding. It's separate from a nonpartisan group called American 250. WHO head Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus traveling to the Democratic Republic of Congo this weekend, the epicenter of that ongoing Ebola outbreak, and overseeing the opening of a new Ebola treatment facility in Bunia.
The key is the community. And this should be everybody's business. Every citizen should care.
And 3 people were taken into custody last night at a protest outside a New Jersey migrant detention facility where detainees allege inhumane treatment. You're listening to ABC News.
Hot summer days and high energy bills are on the way. Upgrade your home's old leaky windows this month during Window Nation's Buy 4 Get 4 free sale. Yes, half of your new beautiful energy efficient windows free. Plus no money down and no monthly payments or interest for 2 years. Call now 866-200-8670 or windownation.com. In select markets, trust our family of brands, New South Window and ArmorView. That's 866-200-8670 or windownation.com to book a consultation.
I've been telling you all about the Secret War on our cash and the free report you can receive a copy of by contacting Swiss America at 800-289-2646. I'd also like to encourage you to subscribe to their podcast on YouTube. Just search Swiss America Trading. The podcast can provide you a ton of vital information and financial news in the challenging and uncertain times we're in. Subscribe today. Learn more about BRICS, industry leaders, and their market predictions for the future, along with what you might expect to see in terms of precious metal performance in the weeks and months ahead. Message and data rates may apply.
Authorities in cities across the country are ramping up violence prevention programs amid a surge of takeovers. That's when people congregate around intersections, pulling burnouts and doing donuts in fast cars, often going viral on social media. ABC's Trey Ward is in Chicago.
Chicago police squad cars blocked the entrance of Rainbow Beach and South Shore, as the lakefront location was reportedly set to be the scene of the city's next teen takeover, responding to what the city is calling credible reports of planned unauthorized teen gatherings. Mayor Brandon Johnson saying in a statement, quote, "I am urging parents, guardians, and trusted adults to help prevent unsanctioned teen gatherings."
The driver of the bus at the center of a deadly crash in Virginia is now facing charges. More from ABC's Andrew Dimbert.
Virginia State Police say 48-year-old Jing Dong has been charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter, and investigators say additional charges are pending. The fatal crash happening early Friday morning in Stafford County, Virginia.
Multiple people jumping out of windows. Multiple vehicles on fire.
Authorities say the bus traveling from New York City to Charlotte, North Carolina, failed to slow down for traffic backed up near a work zone, slamming into multiple vehicles.
5 people in total were killed in that crash. And the top 2 movies at the box office this weekend come from directors who got their start on YouTube. 20-year-old Kane Parsons with Backrooms and 27-year-old Curry Barker with Obsession. I'm Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
The KDKA AccuWeather forecast is brought to you by JP Roofing and Siding, Pittsburgh's #1 Platinum Preferred Roofing Replacement Contractor. Call 412-829-7711.
Partly cloudy tonight, low 48, and a beautiful day tomorrow with lots of sunshine, high 75. Clear tomorrow night, low 53. Sunny and nice Tuesday, high 75. For AccuWeather, I'm meteorologist Carl Erickson, 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
All right, talking to my man Mike about death by lightning. So, you and I talked about this off the air a couple days ago. About, well, actually, it was in addition to off the air a couple days ago, it was also last Sunday, talking about how Garfield was a little bit ahead of his time in regards to advocating for rights for other emerging Americans, I'll call them, including African Americans, in large part because of his Civil War experience. I'd like to think, now that I look at this, Mike, I'd love to get your opinion on this. As you see Death by Lightning, again on Netflix, everybody, 4-part series, that he might have felt it a higher obligation to be what Grant could have been and ended up not necessarily being in regards to the corruption, because Grant was both the war hero, but then after a while was the person that kind of let the grift start rolling into the federal government.
Yeah, I think he felt a moral obligation because that also, we see that he's confronted. Apparently there was a letter about him not, like, his allowing Chinese workers into the country, that he had to contest that, and he didn't want to, face his past on this letter that may or may not have been forged, what caused a protest outside of his house. At the same time, earlier, I believe a week or two earlier, he was meeting with African American Union soldiers, asking, is he going to protect them if he is elected into office, their right to vote and their freedom of speech? And he says, I'd rather lose with you than go against you
and win without you. Exactly. And here's the thing with this. And again, we talk about these things, but this is why series like these, Mike, to me, are enjoyable, because it's a nice thing to watch when you're sipping on a beverage or a non-alcoholic beverage, depending on who you are, like me. But the flip side is, it's 1880. Yeah. The compromise of 1876 had already happened. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, you're starting to see the rollback. They talk about, you know, Ku Kluxers being out there. They talk about some of these things transpiring. And as a result, you get to contextualize how important that conversation was, to be able to say, okay, look, I'm going to stand on the principles of Lincoln. I mean, Lincoln was only gone 20 years. And people forget, we immortalize Lincoln now.
Yep.
Lincoln was not that figure back then. He was a perennial loser that ends up winning, and the reception he got by winning the 1860 election is states leave the Union.
Yep, they secede.
So when you watch it as a contemporary unfolding, I can appreciate how they did that with this series, so that you can contextualize the history that we know now and how it played out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And not to mention that this is 15 years or 16 years before Plessy v. Ferguson.
Yes.
Which is arguably one of the most controversial court rulings, in our history. So the fact that he's working and trying to make for a better country and trying to unite both sides of this, corrupt party, a divided nation that, like you said, is still recuperating after the Civil War, because one, Lincoln was assassinated. He had a Southern sympathizer in Andrew Johnson. We know how his campaign and how his run ended. And with Grant, and for, like I said, for all the good stuff Grant did, there's still much left to be desired in his time in office, unfortunately.
And people, and what the series does, folks, again, it's Death by Lightning on Netflix that we're talking about as two, history buffs, if you will. And this is one of the first things I actually learned about Mike, is how much of a history buff he was. So when he mentioned Death by Lightning, this was just a natural thing to bring up. But, when you look at the series, the lightning in a bottle moment that Garfield had with his speech to go from nominating somebody else, Sherman's brother, if you will, to getting his own nomination. And it started with, in the series anyway, and Mike, this is one thing I will say I did not know, so you could tell me if this is dramatized or real, but one vote, and to gain all the momentum at a convention from one vote and coalesce those votes and then end up winning the convention. Look, Michael Steele, when he became chair of the RNC, it took 6 rounds of votes. Mm-hmm. Abraham Lincoln wasn't exactly just walking in and waltzing in and getting, winning the convention nomination. These things happened over time like that, where you start from humble beginnings, and then this person drops out, and you cobble this, you cobble that, and you start, this is where the backroom brokering used to happen in politics that allow people to end up going from offshoot candidate to nominee, or in Garfield's case, offshoot candidate to nominee to president.
Yeah, and I think this is largely true. He did not want to be president at all. He did not. Like you said, he just wanted to speak for John Sherman. And being that they were deadlocked between Sherman, Grant, and James Blaine, they really had to rally towards someone, being that their own party was so divided between corruption and progressiveness, and you still got Roscoe Conklin backing the funds towards Grant. They needed a middle ground, and when they heard that speech from Garfield, they were like, hey, this might be our guy. And I believe it was on the 36th ballot that he won.
Yeah. Now, here's the crazy thing, and I'm going to get to Gateau before we get out of here. What I found fascinating about the second episode, and it kind of actually ties into what we were talking about with the kids here in the city of Pittsburgh, in an indirect way, but you'll get where I'm going with this, everybody listening, and Mike as well. Gateau, in episode 2, talks about Garfield's past, how he had less than Gateau did growing up, how poor Garfield was. He even says something along the lines of, this dude would have had an unremarkable career and could have even died an unremarkable death as a child, and he's gone from that to being amongst kings and perhaps being the king himself. And basically his whole mindset was, this dude has to want to gravitate towards me. He and I are the same person, and just through a few simple circumstances, he's running for president of the United States. I'm over here, but I can help him, and isn't this grand? This is America. And yet, we all know how it plays out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fascinating how the writers and producers gave Gateau an opportunity to show how similar two men with such different paths in life actually were, and how that played out in 19th century America.
But the only difference, the key difference is, one wanted it through shortcuts. The other one had to work for it. And Garfield, they mentioned it, his father died when he was at a young age.
I think it was 2.
Yeah, his mother had the raise. He was a child of 5. He almost dies in the Civil War as a correspondent delivering letters. I think he was knocked off his horse, survives that. And everything he had to do, he had to work for. He was ready to retire from his political life and just settled down. But as fate would have it, he gets called back into the fold. And as compared to Gateau, he just wanted to take shortcuts after shortcuts. We see it in the episode 1. He had his support for Grant, but he saw where this was going. The party focused towards Garfield and gravitated towards him.
And he pivoted.
And he pivoted. And it's unfortunate how what went through his head, his process. He thought he could be rewarded. He said, allow me to be great. Give me the opportunity to be great. I think he asked them. That might have been in one of the later episodes, but he wanted to have that opportunity to succeed. He was also alienated and estranged from his own family.
Yes.
So it's just he was disillusioned, and he wanted to take the easy route, where unfortunately he had to work. He had to work for it legally rather than illegally.
And it's an era where a lot of self-made men had to toil in a very rough and ragged way to get to where they got to, and he was trying to find the shortcuts to do that. Last question about Death by Lightning. I know we'll talk about episode 3 next week. You mentioned an affinity for Garfield. Where does he rank amongst the 47, which is not really 47 because, some people have kind of, 2 of them served twice.
Grover Cleveland, Donald Trump. But, are you saying where do I think? Or
yeah, where do you think?
I mean,
For you, not necessarily.
Oh, for me, I would rank him at least in my top 10 on the outer bubble, just because of his moral philosophies, his moralities, how he came up, what he wanted to do, what he tried to do in such a short time. Unfortunately, he was only president for 6 months, and half of those months he was fighting for his life.
Fighting for his life, exactly.
So I do rank him on the upper threshold. I am a little biased with that because I like to view you as a character, as a human being. I understand political life can get messy, it can get dirty. You got to play the game, but at the same time, you got to juggle that and overall make the right decisions, the best decisions, not just for you, not just for your party, but for the country. And we see that in Death by Lightning. He's trying to do that, whether it's for the African Americans, whether it's to end the spoils system, and whether to bring this country into a world power.
Which, again, and Mike, I appreciate talking about. We're going to talk about it next week. I want to end with that. People forget that the United States was emerging as a world power at the time because of the Industrial Revolution. So we'll talk about episode 3 next week. Mike, thank you very much, kind sir. I'll get to the double doctor after we come back after the break here on News Radio KDKA.
Now more than ever, we're the station you can trust for the information you need. KDKA.
Pittsburgh, get ready. Three Rivers Comic-Con is celebrating its 10th year in 2026, and it's bigger than ever.
Meet comic creators, shop unique vendors, and dive into a full day of fandom fun for all ages. Whether you're into comics, art, cosplay, or collectibles, this is the event you don't want to miss. Join the celebration and be part of a decade of comics culture. Get your tickets for Three Rivers Comic Con 2026 at threeriverscomiccon.com or at the door. Presented by New Dimension Comics.
If you're struggling to hear conversations, TV, or the people you love, now there's an easier, more affordable solution without spending thousands. Audion Hearing makes high-quality, rechargeable hearing aids starting at just $98 with free shipping and dedicated one-on-one support in the comfort of your own home. No doctor's offices, no pressure. Clearer hearing delivered right to your door. Join over 1 million happy customers hearing life more clearly. Visit audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
I built this business the old-fashioned way. Hard work and a whole lot of spreadsheets.
Yeah, about that, I upgraded us to Odoo. Odoo puts everything we need, sales, inventory, accounting, on one connected platform. No more juggling systems, no more headaches.
So it all works together?
Exactly.
Odoo is the all-in-one business software that makes running and passing on a business easier than ever. Take your business into the next generation. Try Odoo free at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Paid advertisement for non-attorney spokesperson. Victory Legal Network is not a law firm. Cases may be referred to participating law firms. Compensation is not guaranteed.
Attention parents. Was your baby born premature and then given Similac or Enfamil brand formula in the hospital? Studies now show that premature infants given cow's milk-based baby formula face a much higher risk of developing necrotizing enterocolitis, or NEC. If you or your loved one had a premature baby and was given one of these baby formulas, you may qualify for significant compensation. Visit govictory44.com now to see if you qualify. A recent jury awarded $60 million in compensation to the family of a child who developed NEC. Families are now taking action. Visit govictory44.com now to see if you qualify for significant compensation. If your baby was given Similac or Enfamil and later diagnosed with NEC, you may qualify for significant compensation, but time is limited. Strict filing deadlines apply, and waiting could mean losing your opportunity for justice. Don't wait. Visit govictory44.com today to see if you qualify. That's govictory44.com.
Paid for by Victory Legal Network.
When you get a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, things get real.
And nobody understands that better than the Parkinson's Foundation. All across the country, we provide resources and support in the fight against Parkinson's, a neurological disease that affects movement.
The Parkinson's Foundation is dedicated to improving care and advancing research towards a cure.
And when you call our helpline, you'll speak to a real person who can help you find the right information. Because while living with Parkinson's can be challenging, there are things you can do to improve your quality of life. So, whether you're newly diagnosed, have been living with Parkinson's for years, or caring for a loved one,
when Parkinson's gets real, find real answers at the Parkinson's Foundation.
Go to parkinson.org or call our helpline at 1-800-4PD-INFO, 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
Join Rob Pratt every Sunday at 11 a.m. for Black and Gold Sunday, presented by Coons Market, your hometown Pittsburgh grocer. Rob keeps you posted on Pittsburgh sports with 2 hours of exciting talk. That's Black and Gold Sunday, 11 to 1, presented each week by Coons Market.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
The KDKA radio text line is driven by Kenny Ross Auto Group. Find your best deal and Pittsburgh's best warranty at kennyross.com.
Listen to KDKA Radio on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps.
Everything you need, every time you listen. 100.1 FM and AM 1020. KDKA.
Now, I usually talk to the double doctor about religion or philosophy or history, but the Reverend Dr. Jerry Grimes, I want to talk to you, and I'm gonna carry you through the bottom of the half an hour. So we got a couple minutes here, and then I'm gonna carry you for a larger segment after the news break. But the first thing I want to start with is, I call you the double doctor because you just earned your PhD, or another PhD, if you will, another doctorate degree from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And I want to talk a little bit about that journey because, like my wife, you did it as a second act American, somebody that went and got that advanced degree later in life. You're going on 50, and you did it as a father. You did it as somebody that was also a professor. You did it as somebody that was also a minister. Talk a little bit about, and we only got about 4 minutes in this portion of the segment, but one, hello, and two, talk a little bit about what that was like with all those other responsibilities and how the moxie to stay the path was worthwhile, but you didn't always see the path even though it was underneath your feet.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me, as always, Brother Lenny, and I thank you again, and greetings to your listening audience, and greetings to everyone and throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And thank you again also for your very kind words, and also for your support throughout much of the journey, and that's really the key. I've often said the completion of a degree program has more to do with the support base around the student than it does the student. Now, this is not to, by any means, say that the student is not the one who's responsible for the studying, for the work, for the writing, and so forth, and the research. But without that support system in some shape, form, or fashion, whether it be institutional, familial, or communal, the process is nearly impossible. And so I will say just one distinction. So I hold 2 doctoral degrees, but they're very different degrees. The first was the Doctor of Ministry that I completed at Liberty University Baptist Theological Seminary, now the Rawlings School of Divinity in Lynchburg, Virginia. And that was in 2012. And that was a practical degree. Professionally, it would be closer, more closely related to, say, the Juris Doctor, or a practical degree of that nature, such as the Doctor of Psychology or the PsyD. And so that was for ministry because, as you know, I've been in practical ministry for 20 years. But the Doctor of Philosophy, the PhD, is generally understood to be the highest terminal degree in the world, and particularly a PhD from what's called an R1 university, a Research 1 university. Of course, in your area, the University of Pittsburgh falls into that category as well. And I have a few colleagues who are doing wonderful research there. And so that journey for me, as you mentioned, I was in Chicago pastoring. I was making a 6-figure salary. That's also another detail. I took roughly an 88% cut in annual income. And this was my second time attempting the PhD. So I attempted the PhD 20 years ago, then completed the DMin later after a triple master's degree. And then because of the kindness and just the faith and belief of one professor, Yaakov Shalom Ariel, who is just a wonderful professor at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, he believed in me enough to really advance and advocate for my research. And that's really what it takes. It takes institutional support, which I had, and familial and communal support, and just constant prayer 25 hours a day. And I know there's 24 hours in a day, but you got to pray 25 hours a day when tackling something like this.
So I'm going to get back to you after the news break. I'm talking to the Reverend Dr. Jerry Grimes, and I'm going to talk to him a little differently than I normally do. Usually I would get into current events and get into religion, get into faith, and maybe we will touch upon that. But the primary thing I want to do is I want to talk to him about second acts. I had an opportunity to go on both sides of the fence with Derek and Jen earlier today. Go to Apple Podcasts, look for their podcast, subscribe to them, YouTube. You'll find not only their previous episodes, but you'll find my episode with them shortly. But during that conversation, and I talk about it a lot in a Venn diagram of one, an American Story, I talk about second acts. And here's another example of a second act. And the reason why second acts are so important. is because we need them in America, at America 250. We need them in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania because of the trends we've been seeing over the years in Pennsylvania. And we need them in southwestern Pennsylvania in particular because of everything that we talked about with PPS, with the kids and the violence and the teens, to the limited opportunities that we keep saying we needed to do something about, whether it's downtown Pittsburgh or across the county or the bevy of counties that we have in the southwest corner. So I want to talk about second acts with Jerry Grimes. I'll do that with my good friend, my brother, after the news on News Radio KDKA.
The Pittsburgh Speaker Series at Heinz Hall, presented by University of Pittsburgh, announces its 26-27 season. 7 evenings to deepen your understanding of the world around you, featuring Anderson Cooper, former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, financial journalist Andrew Ross Sorkin, former NASA Administrator Charles Bolden, and the former U.S. Ambassador to China Nicholas Burns. The series is sponsored by News Radio KDKA and the Spanos Group of Raymond James. Tickets on sale now at pittsburghspeakers.org.
Here's the latest from the KDKA Community Message Board.
It's back in the heart of downtown Pittsburgh. Rock, Reggae, and Relief returns Saturday, August 8th, featuring UB40, Ali Campbell, G-Love, and more. Enjoy summer vibes while supporting Cafe Momentum. Get your tickets today at rockreggaerelief.com. New to Rivers Casino? Join now and earn up to $1,000 free slot play. Stop by Rush Rewards on your next visit to start earning today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. March of Dimes that starts with Mom PA Military Shower helps pregnant military families have one less thing to worry about with a fun, informative, and free baby shower Saturday, August 22nd at the 316th Sustainment Command. If you're pregnant and you or your partner are an E6 or below active duty, reserve, or veteran military service member, call 412-506-8610 to join them.
Details at KDKARadio.com.
Wait, everything on this IHOP value menu is just $6?
I told you it was amazing. A huge plate of pancakes, bacon, and eggs is just $6.
Wow.
There's also French toast, a ham and cheese omelet, and oh, they got a BLT and fries now.
Okay, we're coming here every day.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Feast for just $6 with the IHOP value menu. $7 in some locations, available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
Now that I'm retired, I'm worried about making ends meet. Food, medicine, and rent cost more every day. And that's why I used benefitscheckup.org. It connected me to an extra $1,000 a month. Benefitscheckup.org is a free service from the National Council on Aging. In a few clicks, older adults like me can see if they might qualify for money-saving programs. If you're on a fixed income, benefitscheckup.org might help you too. For free. Visit today.
Supported by the U.S. Administration for Community Living.
News, weather, traffic, and business every day. Hear it on News Radio KDKA. From the Aetna Medicare Studios.
Proud to be the voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
ABC News, I'm Mike Dubosky. Trump administration officials tell ABC they're getting closer, but so far officially there's no short-term peace agreement with Iran. ABC News chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell is in Jerusalem.
If it's not a great deal, we're not making it.
President Trump is demanding Iran reopen the Strait of Hormuz, agree to never develop a nuclear weapon, and allow the U.S. to remove Iran's highly enriched uranium. Iran demanding the U.S. release $12 billion in frozen Iranian assets. But President Trump says no money will be exchanged until further notice. The agreement being negotiated is expected to extend the ceasefire, not end the conflict, which will mean high prices at the pump as one of the world's main oil routes remains out of action. Ian Pannell, ABC News, Jerusalem.
And World Health Organization officials helping to open a new Ebola treatment facility in the Democratic Republic of the Congo this weekend amid a growing outbreak of the virus in Central Africa. This is ABC News.
If you're in the Pittsburgh area and caring for a loved one with Medicaid, get paid starting today. Freedom Care has already helped over 162,000 families get the care they deserve, with 97% satisfaction and more than 8,000 five-star reviews. If you have Medicaid, you need to hear this. You may qualify to choose a caregiver you already trust, a family member or friend, and they can start getting paid. No agencies, no strangers, just someone you know, helping with meals, medication, bathing, mobility, and more. This service isn't for later, it's for right now. It's 100% free to you through Medicaid, and caregivers get paid right away after their shift. Find out if you qualify today. Call 412-801-7213. That's 412-801-7213. Don't wait. Call 412-801-7213 now. Again, 412-801-7213. Freedom Care. Get paid to care starting now.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
This is Marty Griffin. I have seen so much anger these days. You know what's overwhelmed me with joy and optimism? This Get Marty. The folks in this community that have stepped up. You can't help your neighbor if you hate your neighbor. Get Marty epitomizes that opportunity to help people, feed people, clothe people, educate people. If you need me, get Marty at KDKRadio.com. It's where we will find a way to help you.
Presented by UPMC Health System, Phil DeLuceni and Associates, Cousins Roofing, Siding and Decks, and by Harold Shepley and Associates.
Mommy, how come I can't sit in the front seat?
Because I love you and you're just not ready yet.
Putting your kids in the right seat for their age and size is an act of love. Check that your kids are in the right seat at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Love protects. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When you get a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, things get real.
And nobody understands that better than the Parkinson's Foundation. All across the country, we provide resources and support in the fight against Parkinson's, a neurological disease that affects movement.
The Parkinson's Foundation is dedicated to improving care and advancing research towards a cure.
And when you call our helpline, you'll speak to a real person who can help you find the right information. Because while living with Parkinson's can be challenging, there are things you can do to improve your quality of life. So, whether you're newly diagnosed, have been living with Parkinson's for years, or caring for a loved one,
when Parkinson's gets real, find real answers at the Parkinson's Foundation.
Go to parkinson.org or call our helpline at 1-800-4PD-INFO, 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
Got better things to do this summer than deal with old appliances. That's why right now at Lowe's, you can still get in on Memorial Day savings and get up to 45% off select major appliances. Plus, get up to an additional 25% off when you bundle select major appliances. It's time to upgrade what's outdated. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 6/3. While supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for more details.
The KDKA AccuWeather Forecast is brought to you by JP Roofing and Siding, Pittsburgh's #1 Platinum Preferred Roofing Replacement Contractor. Call 412-829-7711.
Patchy clouds tonight, low 48. Sunshine and nice tomorrow, high 75. Clear tomorrow night, low 53. Mostly sunny and pleasant Tuesday, high 75. For AccuWeather, I'm meteorologist Carl Erickson on 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
Hi, this is Larry Richard. Join us Monday on the Big K Morning Show, 5:30 until 9, as we welcome the month of June with a list of things that you can do in and around our hometown.
Lenny McAllister talking to the Reverend Dr. Jerry Grimes. Now, here's the interesting thing about second acts. Because although you have one in your life, obviously, with the second time of trying to get this PhD and doing it later in life, in your late 40s, there's also the dynamic of, well, you know, you're a reverend. So you're talking about doing a second act in your own life and inspiring other people to do a second act in their life, in lives, plural, while preaching a religion that absolutely positively is centered in second acts, i.e. the second act of humanity, Adam and Eve, the resurrection. How does that all come together for you, Jerry, in regards to putting it into secular terms, something that you have to profess and preach about on Sundays?
Well, it's a unique challenge in that there has existed at different points to a greater degree and a lesser degree, depending upon which decade we're discussing, post-1865 until now, in which there has often been a type of spiritualized anti-intellectualism that has pervaded, in general, it's just not the African-American church. I can speak more directly from experience to certain segments of the African-American church, but whether we're discussing Protestantism or Catholicism, there are certain parts of the social strata in which intellectual engagement of a text or life in the parish and life in the sort of the normality of congregants is viewed as antithetical. That if one is too vested in studying the Vulgate, too vested in studying and preparing individuals to be catechized and engaging in this type of academic rigor, that one is pulled away from one's faith journey. When in fact, we know historically, if we go back many centuries, I'm talking if we go back to Aquinas and Augustine and Athanasius and even before them, we know that that's not the case, that one can think and feel at the same time, and we're encouraged to do that. So that was a part of the challenge for about the first decade of what's now 2.5 decades, of conveying to laity that God is an intellectual, and that thinking is by no means antithetical to feeling and believing. All three can happen at the same time, and it's preferable that they all happen at the same time. But that's been a particular challenge, as I said, post-1865, and then there was an uptick, a great uptick in the 1930s until the end of the 1960s during what was called the modernist fundamentalist controversy, where there came a great divide between sort of charismatic theology versus religious studies and academic rigor. But I have found that people do want to know more. They just want effective teaching as to how to take some of these more seemingly abstract ideas about history and life in the ancient Mediterranean and how does that affect people, you know, who are living life today. And so what really helped me the most was I never viewed my pursuit of my PhD as me pursuing a PhD. I focused on the work of people like Sarah Baker Leonard Tupper, who I've been privileged to speak about on this program, the co-founder of Shaw University, now the oldest historically black college in continuous operation. She was from Massachusetts, a great missionary who was a part of that great American Baptist movement to which John D. Rockefeller Sr. and H.L. Morehouse and so many others belonged. And I think when people can see those connections, it was their faith and their belief that Americans after the Civil War, regardless of how they came to be Americans, whether they had generationally had forms of freedom to varying degrees since 1776, or whether or not through emancipation they became citizens, but that Americans have a right to at least pursue their education, that there should be an understanding that if you're working and you're paying taxes and you're seeking this, that individuals who are in a position should be encouraged to create those opportunities, because in turn, I think we can agree Standard Oil was not hurt by helping to build an African-American middle class, many of whom had great product loyalty to the Rockefeller family, and for good reason, and also his legacy at Riverside Church and so forth. So when people can see those connections and see the work of Jesus working both in the boardroom, working in factories and in fields, working for the emancipated, working for those who desire education, then it makes more sense to them, and they can grasp it. That I didn't earn my PhD to live in the ivory tower. I think the ivory tower benefits from the street corner, and the street corner benefits from the ivory tower, and so forth.
So let me ask you this, because I've had my lovely wife on here, a brilliant woman who's a second act student herself. You're obviously brilliant as well. But not everybody that's going to pursue a second act. I pursued a second act, and I wouldn't necessarily say that I match either one of you two in regards to your breadth of knowledge. What do you say to people that are looking to have a second act? What do you say to them that says, hey, we're all going to share this common trait, whether you're getting a PhD in philosophy, you're going to study in the Galapagos, or you're just trying to, finish your degree in, I don't know, history after many years being gone from school?
Brother Lenny, interestingly enough, we divide and canonized the Bible into Old and New Testament. But for a very long time, for centuries, no one really saw it that way, understandably. The ancients viewed it as one story, with peaks and valleys and one story. And I think what helps a lot is to view the decisions that we make and the corridors that we enter, in your case, returning to Davidson. I would view that as a part of one long story. The journey to author your incredible forthcoming work, that's a part of one story. I see it all as one continuous line. Even for myself, I have to remind myself that the term Old and New Testament is still in vogue and still used, because in reading the text, particularly in reading it in its ancient languages, whether Hebrew for the Hebrew Bible and Greek for the Greek Testament, you see this continuous baseline. That's what I call it, that God has a baseline for our lives. And you can have all kinds of chord changes, key changes, different chord progressions, crescendos and decrescendos. A lot of things can happen, but the baseline is there. And I would go as far as to say to people, pray and meditate on your baseline. For me, my baseline was I wanted for myself to have a deeper understanding of what I believed, but also in such a way that for somebody else who may be wrestling or questioning and just involved in the messiness and complication that is life on earth, how can I convey these things to them in a way where it's not argumentative, but inviting, where I often say that the no question is too complicated for the eternal. And so that was always my larger goal, the larger story. And I think that helps a lot. Yes, we declared independence in 1776, but more so than most, being a historian yourself, that that just didn't happen. There was certainly a baseline. There was certainly, we can now look back on those events, and certainly the people at the time did not know how things would eventuate. However, there's a steady baseline. And so that's my strongest recommendation to say to people, what gave me the strength to go back to say, the world says 6-figure salary, comfortable life, this is what you're supposed to have. That's what the world says. And I tell people, look away from the world as much as you can. Look away from it. Look towards God and yourself. And the world may say, yeah, take the comfortable job in New York, as Sandy F. Ray said. That's what the world says. But then God says, no, there's a place for you in Nebraska. There's a place for you in Omaha. There's a place for you in a place where the world wouldn't say is shimmering with gold and the things that we should pursue. But that's where your joy is. And that's going to give you the strength to stay up, 18, 19, 20 hours to do what you have to do. That's going to motivate you or even get you to the point that you don't need motivation because you're on a mission. And a mission is bigger than motivation. It's bigger than a moment. So I would say if you had to ask yourself in one sentence, what is your mission? When you can write that down, then you say, then I'm going to accomplish that mission.
How does one, and again, I'm talking to the double doctor, the Reverend Dr. Jerry Grimes. I told you he's my favorite pastor. Dr. Grimes, how do you tie a mission to something higher when you might get into the fold as one that's just trying to complete a mission? I mean, again, I will use my own story. I became a history major because that's the most amount of classes I had done at Davidson. I thought I was going to be poli-sci or maybe sociology. When I finally re-enrolled in Davidson, I looked and said, hey, this is the closest way of me getting my degree. I'm a history major. But then I've morphed into something different while pursuing that history degree. What would you say as a man at a cloth, but also a man that did this just recently, just at the beginning of this month, how do people take I'm only getting my degree in order to make more money or to complete my education, to go from that definition of mission to something greater that's going to provide more motivation and allow you to break the tape and get across the finish line?
I would say to look beyond the immediate. Interestingly enough, just this morning, I was speaking with my congregation about Conrad Hilton and his courage to take out a loan for $300,000 shortly before the Great Depression so that he would not lose his holdings, with faith and belief that at some point that people would need hotels again. It's easy now for us to look back and say, well, of course he made the right decision, but at the time living through it, between 1929 and 1945, for someone to dare to hold on to hotels when people could not afford bread, could not afford soup, because he had this belief that at some point things would get better. And I've often heard this about President Reagan, that it took him so long to become president because the party had to catch up to him, as well as much of the world to a certain degree. And so what do you do during those times in which you're, waiting for others to catch up, so to speak? And I would say you keep looking towards the bigger thing that's beyond the immediate. In your case, I would say earning the degree from Davidson was not the completion of your journey. It was a part of the journey that you're still on. And so your baseline hasn't changed, but when you looked at the number of credits that you had, you said, okay, I see a chord change coming up here, so we're just going to, change with this chord here, just like improvisational jazz. We're going to change chords, and then we're going to move right back. Okay, the time signature is going to change. Okay, we'll change here, and then we'll move back. But your ultimate goal of wanting to serve people, and your goal of caring about people and being active in your community and wanting to do that in the most effective way and in the most massive way possible has always been there.
Dr. Grimes, how did you take your second act and allow it to redefine you to be a new person? Because that's the other thing people are challenging. And I know you had to go through it, and you're better at it than most, but you still had to consciously say, this second act of getting this PhD at this age, with a daughter, with a church that I am the shepherd for, as a professor with kids that look up to you, how do I do this while also morphing my identity in a way that both matches this second act academically, but also this second act culturally, this second act from a family standpoint, this second act from a community standpoint? How did you bridge those together, and what advice would you give people as they're looking at that challenge as well?
I would say in my case, so I spent 10 years teaching at North Carolina Wesleyan University, teaching in the adult and professional studies program. And so a majority, I would say well over 95% of the students were working adults. Classes were 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. We did a few things online, but there was still that in-class component. And I've also taught as a teaching fellow for the past 2 years at UNC Chapel Hill, and then at Shaw University very early in my academic career. And there is a significant difference between adult learners and the seriousness with which they take everything. And I would go as far as to say, at this point in my life, it was easier to get the work done because, as I often say, I don't know if I can say butt kicking on the air, so I apologize if I can't. But I often say,
whoa! You just said butt kicking on the air. You said you apologized, and you don't know if you could say it, but then you said it. But go ahead.
But I've often said the greatest blessing anyone can have is a substantial number of butt kickings, because they're the quickest. It's the quickest way to learn something. And sometimes now there are definitely exceptions, but many times a student who's 17, 18, or 19 has not yet acquired some of the bruises and scars of life that someone who's 40, 50, 60 has acquired. Those bruises that, for me, function the same way as chevrons, on one sleeve. Those experiences quicken and sharpen one's focus when doing a homework assignment. The homework assignment is not viewed as an assignment. It's viewed as this is my path towards being able to provide for my family even more so and help my community. There's a clarity that comes with it. And I interestingly enough, just this morning, I was saying there's a tragic myth in this world that one can be too old to do something. I think we overlook the fact that Moses had been collecting numerous copies of AARP long before he ever went back to Egypt to start liberating people. I think sometimes we look at Charlton Heston and we look at different interpretations and we forget that Moses, had been a nice, well and retired. He had his beachfront property and he was doing well, relaxing in Midian before he starts, the 4-decade journey of liberating those who were in captivity. And so I have found there's a great football player by the name of Charles Woodson who said, but he lost in speed and physicality as he played. He gained in insight and actually found the older he got, the slower the game became. So I would say to anyone, the older you are, that is a superpower. You've been through things. You understand things the hard way. You have the scars. You have the bruises. You can recognize more quickly where something is going before it happens. It's like the quarterback who gets sacked enough to know I need to stay in the pocket and I might have 2 seconds to let it go. And so what I encourage people to do is to just say, okay, I'm going to do one small thing every day. I'm going to take 5 minutes to do one thing. I guarantee you that 5 minutes, day after day, is going to become 10 minutes. It's going to become 15 minutes. And the most important thing I would say is find yourself 2 mentors. The reason I say 2 is so if one is, busy and occupied, you have someone else you can speak to. The single greatest advantage you can have in life is to have someone in your life who has done what you're doing and wants to see you succeed. I would say that's more important than anything. And of course, I'm a little biased. I would also say this. And I know, as a clergy person, this probably won't be.
You have to go very quickly. We got about 20 seconds.
Okay, 20 seconds. I would say find a place for religion in your life. Vince Lombardi, Roman Catholic, never had a losing season. Bud Grant, a proud patriotic American, but never won a Super Bowl. I'll leave it there.
That sounds like a true Packer fan. Very quickly, kind sir, where can people find your work?
Peter's Tabernacle, 1870, but also to note, Chuck Noll was also a Roman Catholic, and again, many Super Bowls. So
that Reverend Dr. Jerry Grimes, thank you for joining me here on News Radio KDKA and making sure you threw Chuck Noll in there as well.
Thank you so much for having me.
Listen, folks, you can catch me on the Big K Morning Show tomorrow, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. with Larry Richard. You can catch me throughout the week.